Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, we're live. Welcome back to another excruciatingly awesome episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. Now, I know I use the same adjective.
Entrance,
Awesome.
intro.
Oh, I used it. I know I've probably used awesome before, but I never said excruciatingly awesome. So,
No, no.
what's up, Sharon? How you doing?
I'm good. I was looking at the at the chat. Thank
Oh,
you,
no.
MS. Welcome. I can't read all of your stuff right now because I'm distracted, but
With something new, original, different, unique, and surprising, and sometimes weird to say, write, express, draw, say, sing, but not during karaoke, Mike. Nice. What's up?
yeah, well, yeah. See, I think he was responding to what Brandon was saying. Like, I used a different word, but I never used excruciating. I don't know. Maybe that's what he was responding to. But if he was, that was pretty synced because you were saying it real time as he wrote it, I think. So,
Yeah, there's a delay a little.
yeah.
I learned that today we're at ultra low latency, which means the quality might not be as good, but it lets us be closer to live with our chat. Because if you turn
Oh.
the latency up, there's more of a delay, but your video will look better. So since we're not too interested in the quality of the video, the audio still carries well. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I noticed, was it last time that it looks a little bit more grainy for me at least. I don't know if it was why, but yeah. So
Could
Quiet
be.
Sparky Bear says Grand Thursday, everybody. John
Yeah.
Chase says hello, all hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, John Shea and Quiet Sparky Bear. Welcome to the Oversharon Show. We have a quote for you today. And I'm gonna read it because Sharon read it the last 2 weeks, so I think I'm gonna.
Oh, yeah. I
Unless
guess
you
I
want
should pull
to.
a card from somewhere. I'm gonna pick a deck here.
Yeah, yeah. If you have one, if not, I have one also. But I
What
know
do I
we can talk
pick?
about
What
it this
deck do
time.
I pick?
Today's quote is by Jack London. The proper function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. And I stumbled across this quote while I was looking for a quote that Ram Dass said that Jack London said, but I don't think it was the wrong
Mm.
Jack. I
Not
think he
Jack
got it
London.
wrong. And so, yeah, I think it was a different Jack that said the quote Ram Dass was talking about. But I came across this quote and I really liked it because it's kind of like we talked about recently with health and stuff, with trying to be very worried about your diet and focused on everything and making sure everything's perfect. He's kind of saying, I'm just going to be busy living. I'm not worried about prolonging my life and existing longer. I don't have that fear. My thing here is to experience and enjoy it and to live it and to do what I'm here to do, not to make it a longer experience, which I like that.
Yeah, I had a thought that just flew out of my head, but I like it too. This like concept of like prolonging and worrying about all that. Like, okay, that's what I was gonna say. I remembered. So I can't remember where I saw it, but there's this concept that when you're born, um, your time for passing away or like leaving the realm is already predetermined. So like, why worry? Because like if you're, if someone's going to pass away at 32 and or whatever, what I mean, that's their time. Doesn't matter. So like, yeah, it's good to maintain your body and your health and stuff. That's a good thing. But like overdoing it, like just like obsessing about it is probably a bit much, right? I think that's what this is trying to say.
Yeah, because it always seems that whatever you are worried about and you try to prevent, you attract it towards you. Like you can see it a lot in movies and stuff and shows. It's a good way that it's illustrated, but I've seen it in my own life a lot. So that's why I don't worry about it. I'm just here and I'm trying to enjoy my life. And, I do take steps to, I filter my water and I do easy things, things that make me feel better. The water tastes better. My coffee tastes better if I do it. I
Mhm.
like to try to get organic stuff if I can. For me, it just tastes better. But if I'm in a situation where I'm not like that, I don't beat myself up. And I know
Yeah.
we've talked about this a bunch, but that's another reason I like this quote.
Yeah. You don't get angry at yourself for, oh, I couldn't find XYZ and organic and all that stuff. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's a
You do
good
the best you can.
exercise.
Huh?
Yeah. It's a good exercise and it's going to go along with one of the verses for today. But whenever you think you know something and you're sure, remember, certainty is the road to ruin. So sometimes it's like Ram Dass said, you're being phony holy, kind of. It's like the story where he was a vegetarian for a few years and he was like really proud of it. And he realized he was kind of getting egoic. So he went into a Chinese restaurant and ate like spare ribs.
I love this story.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to go eat spare ribs. Sometimes you got to go to Burger King or, Chinese food or whatever it is. And just know that it's still from God. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I pulled from the Morgan Greer deck, which I haven't pulled from in a long time. It's the one with the little stars on the back.
Yeah. I like that one.
And it is the Three of Wands. And what was this all about? I remember it being about like looking out and being aware of options or something, or looking out. I don't know.
Well, if you just take the basic, I was petting my cat. Sorry, I'll bring it back to the gallery view, everybody.
Yeah.
If you take the basic, if you just look at the numbers or the number and the different, oh, did I just mute you? I'm sorry, I meant to
No,
unpin
no,
you.
I did. I
Oh,
had to
okay.
cough.
Oh,
Clear
all
my
right. No, you're cool. Oh, you did it as I was unpinning you. Okay. So the three is a trinitude. It's a trinity. It's three things coming together. It represents really like birth, life. You have the masculine and the feminine coming together to create. And then wands is all about energy and creation. So it's like a double creation cued. But I feel like the way he's looking out like that, he's kind of, like you said, you're looking, checking the situations, checking the surroundings and the
Mhm.
situation. And in the Rider Waite, he's up on like a mountain kind of, or
A
like a hill,
ledge or
a
something.
ledge,
Yeah,
yeah,
looking
looking
out.
out. So he's looking further. So this is really about kind of the next steps after that is created, or maybe you figure out what you're here to do in your dharma and to create. Now you kind of taking a break, or he's holding on to the one staff and he's looking out and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. So it's about that quiet contemplation and
Dude,
stuff like that. Yeah.
that reminds me of the the free class that Bootsy
Oh,
Greenwood, our friend
yeah, you
Owen
were telling
Hunt,
me
is
about
doing, because and I'm behind. I need to catch up, but um I've done day 1 through 3, but I still need to work on day 4 and onward. But yeah, it's really cool because this card made me think of that. Like you're like observing your surroundings, like looking out and seeing what is your dharma, what is your path, what is your, dare I say, ikigai, which is like your purpose in Japanese culture. I love it. I
it. All right.
love those. Are you muted?
No, like your dharma.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You said something and you weren't close enough to the mic, so I didn't hear it. But yeah, it makes me think of like those 4 circles, right? They're like the Venn diagram type circles where like it's your things you love, the things that you do well, like what you can do as a as a job, and like what can you get paid for, and I forgot the other one. But anyway, like all that merges, and in the center is your ikigai. That's your purpose.
Uh, I like that. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. I haven't really had the time, but I will make it because I like Bootsy and
Yeah,
I'm sure it's amazing.
I think you will really like it because it when it asks you to list all the things that you like, it he makes you list all those things out, those 4 columns, or those 4 things, like what do you love, like what are you passionate about, type of thing, like what do you love, and what are you good at, and then there's 2 other ones I can't, like I think one is like what can you be paid for, and the other one's something else, but you list all those things, And in doing that, you're kind of like honing in on like what can be your purpose in this realm, this lifetime.
Oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
like it because I feel like a lot of people are, trying to figure that out. It's tough. You don't want to work a real job and be like a slave to somebody else. You want to find your own way and create in the world. I know that's what I'm attempting to do. So I love it. Good for him.
Yes, indeed. So that reminded me of that. And so that was the card that we pulled.
And the best part about that is if he helps people figure out their purpose and they start making money, then they could donate it to him. But it's like free at first, It's like, hey, if it works, I don't even know if he said that, but I'm just saying it's why
Yeah.
not, right? But
Yep.
yeah. Anywho,
For sure.
well, I guess what else? So what else is going on? That's the card. We could get into the verses, but is there anything else going on or anything you want to talk about? I mean, I had some crazy synchronicities I could talk about. Oh, that's what I remember now what I was trying to tell you before about the trip. Before we started recording, I was talking about my errands that I ran the other day with my lovely fiance Elizabeth, and one of them was we got coffee at this place that it's really good. It's called Willoughby's. They have one in New Haven and Brantford, Connecticut. Check it out, everybody. And I also went to Leaf Only. Shout out to Leaf Only organic tobacco leaves for all your smoking pleasures. Check them out, leafonly.com. They're right here in Middletown, Connecticut. But anyway, after we got the coffee, a couple hours later, we ran some errands, and then I got a text out of nowhere from Paraplegic Bear asking me if I needed coffee. I'm like, what?
That's funny.
Yeah, he said he hasn't watched the show in a while. I should text him and tell him we're live. But yeah, I told him to check it out, and so I was like, I just bought some, dude. You should have hit me up yesterday. But yeah, so that's just a crazy kind of synchronicity, right? And then I don't know, but I just wanted to do that and give him a shout out. Maybe he'll appear in the chat. That was so funny. You never know. Oh, I didn't put it
So,
on Instagram
yeah.
today.
Um, yeah,
Darn.
here around here, we went up to Strawberry and Payson, Arizona last couple of days, and it was nice up there. The weather's a little bit cooler, it's higher elevation. And yeah, we just had a nice time before my born day because Cody's going to be working some odd hours for work, so wasn't going to be possible next week. So we had an early celebration.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Grazie.
born day. So by the time we hear from you, because it's next Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we hear from you, you're going to be one more
Next week.
rotation in the realm, or however
Yeah. One more,
however this works. One more standard Earth year older, to put it in Dune terms.
one more solar well, yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Solar return, yeah.
Solar
We
return.
we could speak of
Yes.
it in Dune terms. Standard Earth years, yeah. No,
In
solar
what terms?
Dune. They would say
Oh,
standard Earth years,
oh,
because even though it doesn't take place on Earth, everything is based on the Earth time.
that's weird.
Yeah.
I guess he couldn't make up his own.
Well, I mean, it's because there's so many planets involved and stuff, but I guess you could. That'd be cool. They do make up different calendars, though. It's really cool.
Oh.
There's there's like BG and AG and all these like after, I don't remember. But anywho, we're here today to talk about the Tao. I'm glad you're doing
That's
well,
right.
though. That's great. Celebrating another year
Solar return.
in another year with your lovely love. It's been 2 years
Yes.
now, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For me as well. It'll be
Yeah.
the 14th is the day that my love professed her love
Love.
for me in the woods. So yeah, it's coming up 11 days. So we're excited.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's cool. Can't believe how it seems like it flew by, but it also seems like it's been longer, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
think it's because we were both friends. You're friends with Cody. I'm
Yeah.
friends with all
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
For sure.
faux
It
shizzle.
helps.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, is there anything going on in the chat before we dive in? Say hi to everybody.
Me
What's up,
how
everybody?
hold
Go
the
ahead.
Hierophant as
Ooh,
his card. Light Sears Tarot.
does he do yoga too? Sometimes I do at home yoga. You know, it's like I'm just like everything else. I don't like to be a part of groups normally, so I'll just do it on YouTube. My YouTube
I
became
know, I don't either. The only one I did ever was like when I used to work at the where I did. And they had a class at the gym, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But that was the only one. I don't It was very convenient, so that was the best part. But like if I have to go somewhere and like get dressed for it and go, it's like
yeah. I would probably do that if it was like on my stop. And oh yeah,
yeah.
it's the same. I thought about going to yoga, and I know people that did. I even bought a yoga mat, and I just never went. And you know, it's funny because I used to beat myself up about things like that, but now I'm like, oh, it just there must have been a reason that I never went to. I
Yeah.
probably would
I
have
mean
taken
it's
it over. You know, I probably would have been in there. I'd be like the guru now of yoga. Like, you know, it's just
yeah. Then you'd speak and you wouldn't know. I'm just kidding.
that's yeah, exactly right. And I'd be in another trip or who knows. But it's
Mm.
funny because Elizabeth said this thing the other day because we went to on our little trip. We were different places, and she's like, you know, I think I figured it out because I people are always seem to be awkward around me, or it just seems to be awkward. And I figured maybe it was the younger generation, or I don't know. But she's like, it's because you're uncomfortably attractive. She's like, you're giant, you have this voice, you have all this hair, and you're the way you sound, you know, and people just don't know how to act. So I was laughing about it. You know, we were like joking around. And then yesterday I did a gig and I was at a school. It's like a bunch of teachers and people around, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think that's what it is. People just act weird, or maybe they just want to be cool because I'm the DJ or what it is, but it's so funny. So I think I'm gonna, I don't know. I was kind of working on it. People were laughing. I was talking about it because it makes me seem like I'm egoic, but people who really know me know, you know, obviously how like I just look this way. Like it's hilarious though. I don't know. But yeah, people don't know how to react, I guess, around a giant legend with all his hair. No, most people are pretty cool. It's just some places people get awkward. I don't know. I still think it's the generation though. People they don't know how to communicate. They're just used to communicating through like texts and emails and stuff, you know, not in person. And like, so what are you going to do? And, you know, maybe I'm uncomfortably attractive, something like that. That's going to be on my tombstone. He was uncomfortably attractive,
Oh
everybody.
my Lord.
All right, everybody. See, I
Anyway,
could, this is a safe place for me to talk about things like this because everybody knows I'm just silly. So,
Tao time.
Dow time. Yeah, Sharon's like, all right, Dow time, Brandon. It's like we gotta. That's good though. We spent about 20 minutes of banter. Let's see, we got this down. You know, I'm probably giving somebody at home. Let me do this here. Probably giving somebody at home.
Think
What's the
uh,
word?
yeah, a headache or
Yeah, I meant to
vertigo or something.
a seizure. Yeah, I meant to do that while you were pulling the card, but then I got so interested in the card, I was like, oh. So we're doing 56 and
We're
57.
doing 56 today, which is, I think, one of our most famously quoted verses ever. And we haven't
Yeah,
even read it from here yet. We
yeah,
just know it.
yeah. We just know it because it's so amazing. I'm excited. So we put 56 and 57 in there. You know, we don't now that we've done an episode, we keep it open, everyone. So if it goes real long, we might just do one. But you know, who knows? We're optimistic. All right.
Dude.
So the way this works is everybody we read 4 different versions of each verse from the Tao Te Ching, and I'm gonna go through. We take turns. So I'm starting with the version from 1988 by Stephen Mitchell. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth. Block off your senses.
Mm.
Blunt your sharpness. Untie your knots. Soften your glare. Settle your dust. This is the primal identity. I love this. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures.
Very
Boom.
nice. Dwight Goddard entitles us The Day of the Mysterious. The one who knows does not speak. The one who speaks does not know. The wise man shuts his mouth and closes his gates. He softens his sharpness, unravels his tangles, dims his brilliancy, and reckons himself with the mysterious. I love that. He is inaccessible to favor or hate. He cannot be reached by profit or injury. He cannot be honored or humiliated. Thereby, he is honored by all.
Amazing. Oops. Yeah, I can't wait to get into the breakdown. I love that reckons himself with with the mysterious. We just talked about that. All right, Stan Rosenthal from 1984, Virtuous Passivity. Those who know the natural way have no need of boasting, whilst those who know but little may be heard most frequently. Thus the sage says little, if anything at all, not demanding stimuli. He tempers his sharpness well, reduces the complex to simplicity. Hiding his brilliance, seemingly dull, he settles the dust, whilst in union with all natural things. He who has attained enlightenment without contriving so to do, is not concerned with making friends, nor with making enemies, with good or harm, with praise or blame. Such detachment is the highest state of man. Ooh,
Mm.
all right. He's living up to his wordiness this time.
Aleister Crowley. Crowley. He entitles us The Excellence of the Mystery.
Love it. Be
I
excellent.
love it too. I love it.
We were
Who
talking about
know?
that last week, right? Be excellent. No
Yes,
intent.
be excellent to each other. Oh, it was like I don't know, week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Who knoweth the Tao keepeth silence. Or shall I say, who knoweth the Tao keepeth silence. He who babbleth knoweth it not. Who knoweth it closeth his mouth and controlleth the gates of his breath. He will
Wow.
make his sharpness blunt. He will loosen his complexes. He will tone down his brightness to the general obscurity. This is called the secret of harmony. He cannot be insulted either by familiarity or aversion. He is immune to ideas of gain or loss, of honor or disgrace. He is the true man, unequaled under heaven.
All right. I like this verse.
So much.
I'm looking at the chat right quick. The affirmation is I am my own guru, and the guidance I need is rooted in my faith, my belief, in my unique essence. Oh, I like that. I know you love Babbeleth. Yeah. What are you doing this weekend? We're going to Babbeleth. You know, we're going to Babel. We're going to Babbeleth on. No, I really like that there's the breakdown, and we'll obviously get into this, but you can see more of what they mean because, like in the Stephen Mitchell, he's like, those who know don't talk, those who talk don't know. But in the other ones, they're kind of like, no, people still talk. You know, they just don't pretend like they know what they're talking about. That's all. They just, and it's reminds me of staying in honor. It really is. It's just like somebody took part of the Tao and related it to law, and obviously it's probably just some spiritual guideline or something about remaining in honor, but that's really what it is. You're not making any claims. You know, you're just like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I like it.
Under heaven we babbleth. That's right. This morning, 8 for 127. Oh, did I mess up something? Or you
The
fixed it?
title.
Oh, I
It's
didn't.
okay.
Yeah, it's numbers. They're just so
We'll
elusive.
fix it.
All right. We can go and break this down. Let me just see. All right, cool.
You copy pasted and you didn't fix that.
Oh, you know what it is. When you do a live, you can actually go back to the
Oh,
previous
okay.
live. So that's what I do when we go live, and I just go in and change numbers. But my brain sometimes just
Yeah.
like focus on like bang, 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 bang.
Not like the ENTJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Get into that shadow, Brandon. Get into it.
I know.
Just
I know.
do you.
I'm killing it.
Ah.
um, Here we go. So I'll bring it back up, and we could break it on down. Break it on down over Sharon style.
So do we do one each? Like just the top part first or the first part?
Yeah, I think we should do it that way.
Okay.
I think that makes sense because there's enough in each one. So those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. This is something we probably talked about on the show concerning the Tao. This topic we probably talked about more than anything else. I don't mean like in our Tao episodes. I just mean as far as things we learn from the Tao. And I think that it is everything really is contained in there. And I like how, oh, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself because it was in a different version. So I'll keep that. All right. It's kind of self-explanatory though, but a lot of people will be like, what do you mean we can't talk? Like you can never like talk now? Like because I know. And it's like, no, I think what you have to look at it backwards, and you can talk all you want. It's just that you don't know. And if you know that you don't know, it's okay that you talk because it says those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. So to me, everyone
It's
looks
the
at it.
arrogance and pride of it
Yes, yeah, yeah,
in the
exactly.
talking, in the knowing, in the thinking that you know.
In the blind spots
Yeah.
that you might have that you don't even understand. So, really, what the verse is saying, it's not telling you to talk or not talk. It's just telling you that when you're talking about something, keep in mind that you don't know, that it's a mystery, right? I mean, I think that's the best way to put it where people won't get offended and be like, oh, how dare you? So, yeah, I'll bring it back.
Oh, yes. So you were saying,
Close your mouth. Sorry, I was opening my mouth. Close your mouth. Block off your senses. Blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. This is a primal identity. So basically, I mean, we've said this before and it said it before in one of the verses. It was like, do you have the patience to let your mud settle, like before you act, basically, which is meaning just chill out, relax for a second. Like, if somebody talks, you don't have to react. If someone's like, we went to the moon, you don't have to be like, are you sure? You could just be like, so what are you doing Tuesday, Bob? Like you could just be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And you don't even have to address it because it's not your job to save everybody. Right. So just chill out is really what I'm seeing from this verse. And again, we're talking to ourselves, everybody. So when I read this, to me, it's like, Brandon, just relax, man. Untie your knots, sharpen your blunt your sharpness. You don't have to be so sharp. Like
mhm.
you don't always have to know the answer to everything. You don't always have to be quick. You could it's okay to like just chill out and relax or whatever and not react, right?
You don't have to
Respond.
tell people what you think you know.
Yes, by reacting. Because and everybody here that's listening to this probably knows that one time when they were talking about something, probably in 2020, someone had a different viewpoint and you're trying to express your viewpoint. You might have got nervous. You might be sweating a little bit,
Mm.
whatever it is. And then sometimes you're just like repeating these things and you're like, it's like catchphrases or whatever they are. Or you might even have seen other people do it. And that's what we're talking about. That's like a reaction. And what the Tao is talking about responding. So chilling out, like you relax and then you can respond properly, however you want to, if you even choose to acknowledge what happened, you know?
Yeah. Wow. The
That's
primal
why
identity.
Yes, the
Nice.
primal, because that's how children are, right? That's when they're born. They have the innocence of a child. It's kind of like that, right? You have this because we react because of our triggers, right? And how do our triggers mostly get installed from trauma when we were
Child.
younger, right?
Yeah.
So before that trauma, we were responding in ways and not reacting. And that's kind of what we're talking about, getting back to the primal identity. And sometimes people even get traumatized in the womb. And that's maybe what original sin is about. And that's what maybe all this work is about on ourselves, seeing ourselves as perfect to get to the point where we don't have to get triggered. Because when someone says something, it's like, oh, it's fine that they have a different point of view. Because I find a lot of times when someone else has a point of view in the past, a different point of view from me, in the past, what I would do is, when I worked back, because you get triggered, but when you work on those triggers, you ask yourself these questions. You work back to, I'm afraid they're not going to accept me because I have a different point of view than them. I'm afraid they're not going to like me. I'm going to be abandoned and all these things. But when you lose that fear, there really is no reaction. You're like, oh, it's okay that, Lester thinks that Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK and or there wasn't a conspiracy. It's fine. We don't have to talk about the
What we don't
USS
know.
Liberty or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Or we don't have to talk about Trump drunk. Uh, you know, it's I don't know, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I think you guys get what I'm talking about. It's just about chilling out and untying your knots. I really like how he put a bunch of different, and that's another thing. There's what, four different examples, one, two, three,
Mm-hmm.
four, five, six different examples of how you can do this, right? So
Yes.
it's important, you know.
Settling your dust. Like let the dust settle. Don't react.
In important point, I'm glad you said it like that because when I got into this, and this still happens too sometimes when you get angry, instead of uh you might not react, but you also might try to repress it or push it down and be like, this is wrong. I shouldn't be angry. So we're not saying that if you get triggered, it's okay to feel the anger and feel all those feelings and all that stuff. But you just don't have to react because of it. You could still
Right.
simmer or, maybe go for a walk or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
if you're in front of someone, that's hard because you're going to want to be angry and you're going to want to react. But in that moment, yes, you can not necessarily repress it, but don't let it fly out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Don't let it
don't
just
let it take control.
take control. So, but when you're at home later and you're thinking about it and you're processing, yeah, feel it out. Let the anger be there. Let it be. Feel it, acknowledge it. It's okay. It's just a thing that happened and you're you're just you've been programmed or wired to react this way since a certain thing happened when you were young maybe. So acknowledging it, I think, and being okay with it is part of the letting go process, allowing it to just be. It's not, yeah, because it's like people are like, oh, but you're not supposed to be angry. No, it's not about that. It's more about like, don't let it control you and don't let it put a wedge between you and a friend or you and another person. Right.
Stay present.
And again, preaching to ourselves and the choir
Stay
because,
present, Brandon. I'm looking at
yeah,
myself in the
yeah,
yeah, because if you
I
stay, go ahead,
have to do this for myself too.
100%. And I feel like if you stay present, then it's harder to just react because when we react, we kind of go somewhere in our brains, especially if it's like a sense pleasure, right? Addiction or something.
And here's another thing too is you can
You're like, but are you staying present? And if you have
yeah,
that anger, you look around, look at the trees. All right, I'm angry, whatever, however you deal with it, right? But that's what we're saying. Go ahead,
and
though.
being present too could be listening to the other person.
A
Like
hundred.
just
That fucking nailed it, Sharon. Because if they're
don't
talking about their point of
yeah.
view, yeah, go ahead, go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Because yeah, if they have this belief or this feeling or this thing that they're very attached to and they just want you to listen, and you're over here trying to tell them, no, that's not how it is. It's kind of like that. It reminds me of that, like, I don't know if it was like a commercial or some sort of meme making fun of women and men in relationships when the woman is like has like a freaking nail in her forehead, and she's like, I don't understand, I have this splitting headache, and she's telling her boyfriend sitting on the couch, and he's like, but if you just, and she's like, I just like can't understand why, and like she's like pouring her heart out, and like and he won't listen. He's just like, but like, can you like, there's something right, can you just take the nail out of your head, because it's, I think that's what's causing your headache. And she's like still talking. Oh, it
It's
reminds me of
so
that.
true though. And yeah,
She just wanted to be heard. She just wanted to be acknowledged, listened to. She didn't want she didn't want a, what is it called? A solution to her quote problem, right? Because she just wanted to talk about it. And sometimes people just want to talk about something. And if you could just listen to them, it would be okay. Like, does it really matter like what their thought is on this? Does it interfere with your relationship with them? Like, ask yourself that question. Should it, And if it does, and you're like, no, I can't be friends with this person because of this, then that's something you have to go back and think about yourself, right? But
boundaries.
yeah, you have to do that for yourself. But it really is up to you to ask the question.
Yep, 100%. I love that.
So
Uh,
should I read the Dwight Goddard?
yeah, I'll pull it up. Great points. All right, here we go.
All right, Dwight Goddard, the day, the day of the mysterious. All right, we're talking about mysteries again, which is again something we talk about often. The one who knows does not speak. The one who speaks does not know. The wise man shuts his mouth and closes his gates. He softens his sharpness, unravels his tangles, dims his brilliancy, and reckons himself with the mysterious. Again, saying very, very similar things to what Stephen Mitchell said. Um, Closing your mouth, blocking off your senses, which is, he says, gates, right? Closing his gates. And then blunting your sharpness versus softening it, untying your knots versus unraveling tangles. Yeah. Softening your glare, or that's interesting, or dimming your brilliancy. Yeah. Settling your dust. Yeah, he doesn't say anything about settling the dust. That's about the only thing. But reckoning yourself with the mysterious is something he does differently. And Stephen Mitchell says this is the primal identity. So, yeah, just a slight difference, but basically saying pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, and I like that part about the mystery because it's, it's what we talked about in the beginning of the show, and I stopped myself from talking when we were just reading through the verses, but I can't stop myself anymore. No, I think that's what it really is about, and I'm glad that we read these different versions of each verse because you really get to see the highlight of it and you get some context behind it, and it's like, okay, because this is another concept that we learned somewhere else, not from the Tao. Like, I remember learning this from Michael Tessarion, talking about being okay with mystery, and you don't have to know. And the people who say they know, especially when they're trying to charge you a large fee consistently to come to their church or whatever, um, maybe they don't know, and you should look out for that. And it's okay to just be okay with the mystery. So now we find this in the Tao, which I really like, because it's talking about reckoning with the mystery, right? It's the same thing. You're just, all right, we don't know. And it goes back to my point of what I said in the first about Stephen Mitchell's verse. I mean, about really, it's not about talking or not talking. It's just about an inner knowing, inside knowing that you know or you don't know, because then you don't have to get defensive and argue your point. And we've talked about that all the time. And it's a good trigger point, because if you find yourself being defensive, you could stop in the moment, or even later when you're looking back on your behavior, and if you analyze your behavior like a lot of us do, you could say, well, why did that trigger me? And it'll lead you back to what we were talking about before, you know, the rejection thing, or being afraid of being alone and all that stuff, abandonment issues. And so it's just it's just another chance, another another opportunity to work on yourself. So
Yes. I love it. Do you want to read the next one?
yeah. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Stan Rosenthal, the first part of his version,
I like the title.
Virtuous Passivity. It's better. It's way better than passive aggressive.
Right? Right?
Yeah,
I
I like
love it.
virtuous
I was
passivity.
thinking.
Why do you got to be so aggressively passive? Can't you be virtuously passive? That would be way better. Thank you.
Ooh,
Have a
I
nice day.
like it.
That's funny. All right, everybody.
Not self-righteously passive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the right way. Those who know the natural way have no need of boasting. Isn't this amazing the way he puts this, the natural way? And, you know, again, we get this wordy version, this very explanatory, breaking it down. Those who know the natural way have no need of boasting, but very simple too, though. Whilst those who know but little may be heard most frequently. So there it is. It's like, you can know if someone's boasting and bragging about it, they probably don't know. They just want to hear themselves talk. They're like making themselves feel better. They're vampiring off of people around them. They're getting validation, they're getting energy, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's okay to talk in front of people. That's what we're doing right now. But if you realize that, then you don't have to get caught up in it, or you don't have to do it yourself. If you find yourself bragging a lot and stuff, you can be like, oh, maybe, you know, unless of course you're uncomfortably attractive, then you could brag. Call back. There we go. That's why I brought that up. Okay. Anyway, oh, let me pull it back up. I was highlighting it. Let's see. So thus the sage says little, if anything at all. Yep. Not demanding stimuli, he tempers his sharpness well. So this kind of reminds me of adrenaline addiction, right? Demanding stimuli. People who are always looking for some exterior stimulus. It's hard for them to be in a quiet room by themselves with no stimulus. And that was me once, you know. Now I like, oh man, silence is golden. I remember my teachers used to say
golden.
that. Silence is golden. And I'd be like, what do they mean? Now I'm like that song, The Sound of Silence, you know, this is the sound of silence. I'm like, yeah, but you're still making noise.
Is that the sense? Is that the right song?
Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, but listen, guys, you're still making noise. All right. I mean, it's a great song, but no. I don't know. I was just scatting. Anyway, I'll bring it back. Bring it back. Yes, not demanding stimuli, so you guys get it about that. He tempers his sharpness well, so there we go. It's a little different. Reduces the complex to simplicity. I like that. You know why? Because that's what you do, Stan Rosenthal, for me. You reduce this complex stuff to simplicity. Even though sometimes you use more words, I think it's because he's trying to simplify it so much, but he does get his point across so well. Anyway. Hiding his brilliance, seemingly dull, he settles the dust whilst in union with all natural things. So he opens this part of the verse with natural and closes it with natural. I see what you did there, Stan. I like that. When things are repeated, that's why I said something about Stan Rosenthal's version. He gives 6 examples of kind of untying your knots and loosening up. When things are repeated, but also when something's open and closed with something, I think it's trying to signify how important it is, you know. So they're pointing you toward the natural way, which is just the way of the Tao, right? And hiding his brilliance, I love that one because it goes back to boasting and stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to prove to anybody that you're smarter. Let them think you're dumb. Let them underestimate you, man. I get underestimated, and I know we probably talked about this on the show before, but I show up to gigs sometimes and people are just like my hair's all up, and I just, you know, it's like, what's this? And I'm like, what's up, everybody?
What's this hippie doing here? No.
Yeah, like, yeah, who's this guy? Like, one gig, I had to be there at like 10 in the morning, and I'd work till like midnight the night before. You know, I was up till like 3 or 4, and then I got like 3 hours of sleep. But so I just, and then I got there, and once I started going, everything was great. And they're just like, whoa, that's awesome. But I think it's better to be underestimated, because
Yeah.
then you're over delivering with whatever you do. And also, it's like the art of war
Mhm.
stuff. If your enemy or adversary or whatever underestimates you, that's what you want,
Mhm.
because then they're just gonna not focus on you as much or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know.
They won't
But
mess with
anywho,
you. Yeah.
take it from someone who gets underestimated. That's what I say to people too, when I need to not, when I need, like, if there's someone who's paying me or whatever and I need them to not underestimate me right away, I'm just like, listen, I know it looks like I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, but don't worry, I'm running all this. Like, they're all my puppets out there. That's the humor I bring to the show, everybody. I don't actually believe that, but in a way, if you're kind of setting the vibe somewhere, or people are kind of dancing to your rhythm. I mean, quite literally when I'm playing the music, right? All right, so I think we could go to Aleister Crowley now, but thank you, Stan Rosenthal. And
Yes. That was nice.
shout out to Bear Walker, by the way. I just thought about this. He's the Native American, he's like a Native American healer, I guess you could say, doctor or whatever you would call that. And I might have talked about this on the show, but I can't remember. But he's a big fan of the Tao too, and he thanked us for talking about the Tao. And now it sounds familiar. Maybe I did talk about it, but hey, it's good to repeat it. So he has gratitude, and he didn't even see the show. Well, he might have by now, but. And shout out to Kathleen, who's Elizabeth's friend, who watches the show and was very excited to see Luke's cameo appearance. Or Katie Luke, who's not up here
Oh,
right now, but when I was holding him up, was that last week? Yeah, she was watching. She's like, "Oh, it's Luke."
nice.
So yeah, I'm glad that she watches the show. She's a big fan of the Dow too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
good people. Okay, I'm gonna bring you up right now, or bring up the Dow. Yeah, we have the best fans. I love it.
Darn fans.
Best darn fans. Best chat.
Absolutely. All right.
We're going
Aleister
down
Cro-
to,
Aleister Crowley's
yeah, there we go. Oh, it must have scrolled up. Okay. It
part
did that thing
of
again.
first part of verse 56, Aleister Crowley from 1918, entitled The Excellence of the Mystery. Yes. Who knoweth the Tao keepeth silence. Oh, I'm just going to read it without the F's. So just to make it simple. Who knows the Tao keeps silence. He who babbles knows it not. Who knows it closes his mouth and controls the gates of his breath. He will make his sharpness blunt. He will loosen his complexes. He will tone down his brightness to the general obscurity. This is called the secret of harmony. And it's funny how the way we arranged these, and again, it was like totally just the way it happened. I didn't intend for these things to be so interesting the way they show up, but I feel like Stephen Mitchell's and Dwight Goddard sounded very similar. And I feel like Stan's and Aleister Crowley's are a little bit more similar to each other too.
Yeah,
Um,
I like how you picked that up. I noticed that as well.
yeah. Now he says Stan Rosenthal says the natural way or the union with unnatural things, and Aleister Crowley says the secret of harmony. Well, when you're in harmony with nature, that's like being in union with natural things, right?
Oh,
Kind of.
this is
Maybe.
why we're
Okay.
so great together, Sharon, because you reminded me of something I wanted to say. Yes, what you said is 1,000% accurate, but what you reminded by saying, what you
Yeah.
reminded me of by saying harmony. I feel like I have a short, like, maybe in a past life I
Attention
had like a
span.
short, no,
Sorry.
that too.
They used to call me
I thought I was supposed to be the funny one. That was fucking great. You just roasted me. That was like attention span. You should have been like vocabulary list. No, accessible vocabulary list at
I
this
forgot
time.
what is it when autocomplete. They used to call me autocomplete at work because
Yeah, yeah, I
I used
remember
to
that. That was so great though.
I used to like interrupt people's sent words and stories and sentences. Try to finish them.
Mhm.
Terrible. Anyway.
No, that was funny though, because um what I was talking about like the harmony. Unless you had something you were gonna finish
No,
saying,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was talking about the harmony and the whole, I forget my exact point because that was so funny. I just like nuked everything in my brain. That was
I
great.
know. See, I knew that was going to happen.
No, it's okay. Like I don't want you to know it was it was perfect, trust me. It gets me back to the point I wanted to talk about anyway, though, about the harmony, which is so yeah, it puts you in harmony, but really what it does is it also puts you in harmony with people around you. Because I don't think that this verse is, like I said, right? It's not telling you to shut up. That's not the way to look at it. And it's also not telling you that you're the master because you know everything. So you're just going to be quiet and like, oh, I know everything. It's more about, again, right? I don't know. So I can be open about it. And I don't have to be the Mr. Know It All and be the one talking and trying to tell everybody how it is, which is going to make you get along with people much better. Because, like Sharon said before, being in the present moment could also mean listening, you know? And when you're just listening, then people are going to appreciate and like you, and you're going to harmonize much better. And we say this a lot on the show, but everybody has their own truth to speak. So if you slow down and untie your knots and listen
Mm.
and blunt your sharpness, maybe you'll be able to recognize this truth this person is speaking. And you don't have to go along with the way that they see the world, but you could still see the truth. And then you could make a comment about how you like their truth, or maybe on some level you can agree with what they're saying. And you could say that, and you're finding common ground, right? And you're just, and really what this is the crux of the golden rule: love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you want to listen to your own needs and wants? Because that's what it is. So as you start to listen to other people, you can start to listen to yourself too, and you quiet down. That voice in the back of your head isn't what you're listening to, right? And that's really, I think, what this is about. But yeah.
It made me think of a quote you read uh some time ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, um about I forgot what it was. Oh,
Attention span. That's
yeah. Yeah.
I love being roasted, especially when it's accurate. I know you were actually trying to give me the thing too, which is like, yeah, I know it just worked out. Like accidentally funny, right? Remember that? Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but anyway, if you know this make his sharpness blunt makes me think of like people who are a little bit, rough around the edges. If you're rough around the edges, blunt that sharpness, right?
Yeah, that's so true. I find that just in my everyday life when I'm like going to gigs, because I deal a lot with the public, and some of the guys I work with are just like, I'm like, there's people, like somebody's grandmother's right there. Like you just said cunt. Like, dude, chill the fuck out. Like, what are you doing? Like blunt your sharpness, bro. Like, of course, and I'm standing there like, oh, this is great. Like, but anyway, you're right. Because just because you didn't fall for the stuff in 2020 doesn't make you a better person than the person with you. There's a reason they were put in your path, and now you have to interact with them. So why not make it a great, memorable, fun experience? Everybody likes to laugh and have a good time and find common ground with people. So and if, like Sharon said, if you don't want to deal with them, then just put up the boundary and turn around. We're not telling you you have to deal with everybody that's put in your path. Maybe they're put there so you can learn how to set boundaries, like it's
Yeah.
funny. The more that I talk, the more I sound like Charles Manson from that show. Like I'm just like, oh my God, it's crazy. Like, because
What show is it again?
I should look up the name of the show. So there's this show about serial killers,
Oh,
the
okay.
FBI, when they're starting to study serial killers in the 70s. So it's set in like 77, and
Mm.
they smoke. It's great. There's this guy, he's just like a man's man. He's an FBI agent. But anyway, they interviewed Charles Manson at one point, and he sounds like he could be like on the Oversharon show, what he's saying basically, because he's not like talking about killing people and all this stuff. He's like, everyone just, he's like, I just tell everyone to find their own love, and if that's their love, he's like, these people I met, because Charles Manson, was accused of uh talking all these teenagers that were like nice suburban teenagers into like killing people. That's the official story. But he's like, it was already inside him. He's like, I just told him to do as thou wilt, basically, and he's like, I didn't know they were going to kill all these people. Like, that's his angle. I'm not saying that's true, but he sounds like he could be on the Oversharon show, which is funny. So anyway, that's why we talk about how the new age bend on this is dangerous, right? And that's why you don't share some of this information with people. And those who know don't talk. And it fits all back in with this because sometimes people are a little Looney Tune and they're like, oh, it's okay to just go kill people. It's like, I'm not going to judge you or throw you in the pit for it, but I will try to stop you from doing it too. It's like nuanced, everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like this loosening your complexes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, talk about a complex. Like when someone has a complex, you talk about it because I can't. I like this, but I need to know why I like it.
So a complex, it could refer to anything that's complex, right? It's just telling you to be simple. But if you're talking about like in terms of human behavior, a complex could be somebody that's egotistical, that they think they're the best. And for me to make a story, it would be like a wedding DJ, right? Somebody who just wants to do their style no matter what and play their music to any crowd and is not going to take any kind of feedback or listen to anybody. And that can pertain to any kind of occupation. I just saying this because that's what I do every weekend. So if you have this complex, it's the same thing. You can relate it to the ego. It's the ego so complex. The ego wants to look outside and explain everything. It wants to put a label on everything. It can't just be, it can't just sit in a room and be quiet. That's not the ego. The ego has to justify what you're doing, your existence, or, goad you and pick on you or whatever it is. But it always has to be talking, because if it's not talking, then it's not alive because technically it doesn't exist. It's like a phantom, right? And again, we don't demonize the ego here. It's just another tool. But this is about looking toward the simplistic and just not being so wrapped up in everything like
Complicated.
that. Yeah, complicated. There you go. Yeah, see, I made it complicated, but
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah. And then toning down his brightness to the general obscurity. So like that makes me think of like
fitting in, baby.
like when you're like when you're too bright, like if you're like the sun, like, and you're like not you're not a seasoned sun gazer, like you can't look straight at the sun. So most people need sunglasses. Most people walk around with sunglasses because it's too bright, right? So if you're too bright for people and you're constantly trying to share all this knowledge and this quote wisdom that you have, it's not, it's like, okay, he says to the general obscurity. That's not going to help the general public, right? It's going to be for the select few, and that's fine. But if you want to reach people or more people or be able to live around other people, I'm speaking to myself, you guys, I'm preaching to the choir here. You
I
have to
love that we
tone that.
constantly remind people, and it's not. Anyway, I'll just let you go.
Yeah.
We get it anyway.
Yeah, because
I like what you're saying. So
I don't I make these connections as we're here. So I'm making them for myself too. You know what I mean? So yeah, we have to tone down any quote brightness we may have to a general obscurity so that we can be and I would quote Paul in this case, like, do to be all things to all people. Like the Apostle Paul says that I am all things to all people. Because if somebody wanted him to be, one who listened to their story, he was going to sit there and listen to them. If somebody was like, oh, I hate to bring these topics up, but like in the Bible, like he was like, he had allegedly the story of Saul of Tarsus, who became Paul, this Apostle Paul. was that he used to be this person who like would kill Jesus followers or whatever, right? And then he became a Jesus follower himself, right? So
Which I think is really quickly the perfect analogy, right? Because that's exactly what happens. You are one way a lot of your life, and then you have this moment where you see Jesus on the road, right? Dark night of the
Mhm,
soul, epiphany. You have
mhm.
this epiphany, and then it goes, and then you're just like an evangelist against the way you used to be because you know inside out.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he had the two people, the ones that were like, no, the people who are Jesus followers, they can't be Jews because they have to do all these like ritual things to become Jews, including weird things that I won't speak of, you know. And so and he had both sides. And there were some that were like, well, we don't want to do that. Like the Christians were like, we're not going to do all that crap that the Jews are saying you got to do. Snip, 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 snip. And so he had these two people. And so he said things like, I'm all things to all people. So like when he was with the Christian people, he was like, or I was just like the Jesus followers people, because they didn't call themselves Christians back then. But he was with them and they were like, yeah, no, we don't want to do this, we're not going to. And he would be like, yeah, you don't have to, like, you don't have to do that. And then when he was with the other ones that were like, yeah, he's like, do your thing, like that's what you do, you were Jew, you were born that way, you did those things, yeah, I was too, whatever, like, yeah, do your thing. So he was like all things to all people. He wasn't going to like woke rape them and be like, no, you have to be like this and you have to be like this, you know what I mean? That's one of
Yeah.
the quotes that always stood out to me from the Apostle Paul is
General,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm
of
all
the
things to all people.
general obscurity.
Yeah.
There it is, right? You're hiding in plain sight. The tallest nail gets hammered down. So you
That's
don't.
the quote, because you said there was a quote and I can't remember it, but um to be like when someone says a fool says something and you're like, you're right. What was that quote?
Oh yeah, how do you get along with assholes or whatever? He's like, I just agree with them.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I thought it
Like
was a
that's
quote we read, but I
stupid.
guess it wasn't.
Yeah, and he's like, that's stupid. He's like, I agree with you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so, you just you're kind of agreeable in some way, but it's not to be it's not in a way to be like a liar or, fake or whatever. It's just because you understand that that's where they're at. You're like, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, that's where people are. People are where they're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Got to
exactly.
meet them where they're at.
You got to meet them where they're at, and that's what this all this knowing. Those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. It's what it's all about. You got to meet people where they are, because if you're wrong, what if you're wrong? You never
Yeah.
know, right? It could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we said to ourselves, "Oh my God, I was so wrong about that," you know? But I will say that leaf only tobacco is amazing, and I'm not wrong about that. No. I was going to talk about Wildling shoes. This is Wildling. So those
Oh,
paper shoes that I have, I've been wearing them, and
paper?
it got a little chilly. Yeah,
Oh,
they're so.
Kathleen is in. Hello.
Oh, what's up,
Welcome.
Kathleen? We were just talking about you. Hope you're doing well.
But
Uh,
paper shoes, yeah.
yeah, washi paper. It's like more like canvas, but
Oh,
it's very breathable. I was wearing them in the summer with no socks even, and when it got chilly, I tried socks, but then I just got the insert from my other wildling that were wool, and I put the wool ones, and
yeah. I need to
they,
get inserts because I feel like I'm, even though they're more like kind of like barefoot shoes, they're still so close to the ground that like my
yeah,
feet get a little bit tired. So I need some
oh yeah,
insoles.
I know what you're saying. I got
Yeah.
to remember to not wear those sometimes if I'm going to be on pavement. If I'm in grass or whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
In the grass, I'm from in the woods. All
Yeah.
right, let's
Shall we go
see.
to Stephen Mitchell, the second part?
Yes, let's do it. Our amazing verse. We love this one. 56. Okay. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from. So they spent like 55 verses before explaining what the Tao is. And now they're going to tell you to be like it. You know, it can't be approached or withdrawn from. Like it's just
It's
there.
always there.
It's always there. Yeah.
I love that.
It can't be benefited or harmed. And this is about not taking things personally, right? You can't, no one's going to.
Yeah, it reminds me of like people who try to defend God or, like no offense, but apologetics. To me, I'm like, why do you need to defend? You're not defending God, you're just defending your own point of view. You know what I mean? Those who speak, what does the verse say?
Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know.
You know what I
I love when
mean?
you do
It's like,
those
why are
phrases.
you defending God? He doesn't care about that. I
Mm-mm.
really doubt he cares. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think God is petty.
Yeah, maybe Yahweh, but that's a different
That's
podcast.
a
Everybody
different.
has to um yeah, and there was something, well, how does it go? Because there's something I was gonna say that I liked. Oh,
Sorry.
no, because and then the other side of that token is also though it can't be benefited. So it that kind of leans to me like of attachment and external validation, you know. So if someone's giving you some praise, like for example, when people come up to me after a wedding, they're like, "Oh my God, you were amazing," and I'm not even like, I'm not exaggerating. This happens to me on like a constant basis. Everybody, it's hilarious. It's great, except for the one lady that was like, "You suck." That was, and I just started laughing. I think I told you about that Spanish lady,
Oh
the
my.
old lady. Anyway, that was a couple months ago, but so you know I could let it get to my head and be like, oh, I'm the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the future that would screw me up because in another situation I'd be like, oh, you know, I don't need to listen to what these people are saying. I already know best because I know. And again, it's like that slippery slope where you want to have the self-love, you want to listen to your intuition, but you got to be open in situations because sometimes you're not always right. So if I approach it the way I kind of take the praise, I guess I'll say, is I just am excited about it and I feel good about it, but I don't let it define who I am. You know, I realize that
Yeah.
everyone's calling me today. I thought I muted this. I don't let it define who I am. And you know, so it's that thing where you just do your work and let it go. And that's what they said earlier in the Tao. And it's the same thing about you can't be benefited or harmed. You just do your thing and you're like, all right, I did my best, and how it comes out, it comes out.
Well, and I see it as like God can't be benefited or harmed,
Yeah, that too. Exactly.
right?
Yep.
You can't approach it, you can't leave it. You can't the Tao's always there. God's always there within
Yep.
like it's just there. And you can't help God. You know what I mean? You can't help God and benefit God. You can't harm him either. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
just there.
I think that it's oh no, there we go. I thought I muted that. So I think that let me look at it again. Oh yeah, so it's like as above so below here because you were talking about the aspects of God, how God can't be benefited or harmed, and then I was talking about how like internally, right, you don't want to take it personally or you don't want to get too puffed up when you get praised. And that's why they're like be like the Tao. And it's another kind of way of saying it but not directly saying it, that you are God, right? You're just part of it.
Could it be?
It
Um,
could be.
did you finish reading?
I don't think so. Honored or brought into disgrace, so same kind of thing, right? With the
Yeah.
benefited or harmed.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. Here we go.
Sharing. It's okay.
Sharon is Karen. I was under Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures.
Mm-hmm.
Endures. So I'm sorry, it gives itself, yeah, it gives itself up. So that's really about letting go, right? You give itself up, it gives up its identity of what it thinks it is. It just keeps letting go. So there you go. You could just you could exist in nature. And this is great because it reminds me of something. I was going to send you a screenshot last night. but I guess I just did it to remind myself to talk about it on the show. But I was listening to, because I started listening to the Bhagavad Gita again. So before I got into the story, I listened to the commentary, and then I listened to just the first chapter or the first lecture that Ram Dass gave on the Bhagavad Gita, because he gives background about Krishna and stuff. So I have this certain order that I do it. And at the end of that, and it's funny because it's at right at like 1 hour and 10 minutes and like 47 seconds. It's like all ones numerically. He talks about meditation, and really he's saying that what's going on is the way we're conditioned to this world. We look at it, and it's the same thing I've been saying about like symbolic reality versus real reality. When you look outside, you say to yourself, oh, that's a tree. That neighbor for some reason parked in the middle of his backyard, and he has some kind of thing going on out there. They must be working on a project, right? That's the way to narrate it, or you could just look at it. And he's saying that we're so conditioned that we don't even realize what's going on, and that's what meditation really is about. And it's goes back to untying the knots. It's about letting go of what your perception of you think of what reality is. And that's kind of what happens when you're on mushrooms too, I guess, or LSD. It's the same thing. You let go of that egoic view of the world. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that up because it blew my mind, just the way he put it. So many people I think are saying the same thing different ways. So anytime I hear a good analogy, I like to repeat it or whatever. So yeah.
Indeed.
All right.
But yeah, you said honored or brought into disgrace. And I just want to reiterate that you can't honor God or disgrace God. Like,
okay.
you know what I mean? I know I say you know what I mean a lot, but
No,
sorry.
this is a good one though, because a
It's
lot of
like,
people would disagree with you.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I'll take the devil's advocate or whatever and say, what do you mean you can't honor God? Like it says you should honor God in the Bible, and I gotta honor God. If I don't, then am I not living
yeah.
like
And what I
evil?
would say to
Evil?
that is you can do your thing. You can do your bhakti or devotion or whatever to God, but is it going to change God's honor as God is? No, it doesn't, because God is just God. So it doesn't make God more honored or less honored, or more honorable or less honorable for you to give your devotion or your honor to God. So it's not talking about your honor to God, it's talking about God's honor in and of itself. Like you can't bring it higher or lower. You can't
You know,
bring God to disgrace or you know what I mean?
I think I thought of a really funny analogy. It's like somebody who likes a band, right? Like if I like, I like Primus. Like Primus, it doesn't affect them if you, well, okay, so on the grand scale, everyone has to like them, right? So, but it's kind of like you saying, oh, Primus gets my approval, so that means something. It's like, no, it doesn't. You're just a fan. Like nobody really cares at the end of the day if you personally why you like them or whatever. It's about their music, right? But some people, even critics, get like that. Or people are super getting into nerdy about music. They're like, oh, I don't like that band. It's like, who fucking cares? I remember I probably told the story before though, but I was at this place I used to DJ at, and I was playing the song. It's like a bar or whatever, regular public. And this lady came up, she's like, this song sucks. And I'm like, well, you could tweet. It's like a Pitbull song. Well, we could tweet Pitbull and tell him. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I hate the song too. I'm like, but look, everyone's dancing. What do you want me to do? It's my job. Like, you're right. The song does suck. So it's the
You're
same thing.
right.
People, yeah, you're right. And they're like, oh, so I just immediately disarmed the situation.
But you're not right for them because they
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, but I guess they're all wrong. You could go tell them individually if you want that they're all wrong, but they're real drunk. I don't think they're gonna care. But it's the same thing that people do with God. They're like, I this with God, I honor God and I pray God and I listen and believe in God. It's like good for you, but nobody cares. Like just are you a good person at the end of the day though? Like, right. God cares, but God isn't brought into more honor. Like God isn't gonna get, like Metallica is not gonna get like an extra platinum single because you like their stuff. They're not gonna get any extra accolades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I just
Because like
do my
it
own?
makes me think of when you have that Old Testament, thou shalt not, thou shalt have no other gods before me, thou shalt not make a graven image. And the reason is the reason you can't make a graven image is because you can't describe God in its totality. Just like the Tao, that the first verse of the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Because if you name it, you put it in a box.
The name that could be named is not the eternal name. I love it. It's a
So
mystery. How dare you? It's
God
really
is God and God is what God is. So you can't like take pieces of it and make it less God or add things and make it more God. You know what I mean? That's sorry, I the you know what I mean is my thing. I say those.
it's
I say
a
that
no, this is
phrase.
I was speaking with Elizabeth about this. We should definitely have drinking games for people so they could, because I was like, Elizabeth, because now she has some time. I'm like, you could go with your friends into a restaurant or a bar and watch the
But at
Oversharing
the
Show
end of the
live.
day,
That's what I said. And I'm like, when I say at the end of the day, you could take a drink. And then when Sharon's like, you know what I mean? You could take a drink. So there you go.
yeah.
You don't have to do a whole shot, everybody, because we get you wasted. Just take a sip. But if we get better, then you could turn into a whole shot. But yeah, and it's October, so it could be Oktoberfest.
Indeed.
All right, let's
Drinking
get back
games.
into this. I love this meet,
But yes, so go
Oh,
ahead.
let me just see. I'm gonna check. So we have 7 people in there. That's amazing. We've been going for an hour and 20. Okay, that's not bad. Hour and
Really?
16. Hour and
Oh,
17.
Owen. Okay.
I was rounding up. Yeah, hour 16. Okay. 22. Oh, because I was looking at the average view duration. It's 22:14. Not bad. All right.
Sehr gut. Sehr gut. Are we
I'm just
on
like on.
Dwight
What?
Goddard?
Yeah. Oh, 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 not this one, everybody. You guys don't want.
Oops.
You can just see the numbers, everybody. That was cool. All right. Let's share this.
I guess we didn't talk about it gives itself up continually. If
Well,
you
I
have
did.
any
I was
thoughts on
talking
that.
about letting go a little
Oh,
bit.
okay.
Remember, yeah. But I do. I'll just say quickly. I like the way we have been breaking this down, because you're looking at the God angle of it, and I'm looking at like the internal. It's like the micro versus the macro. The
Mm-hmm.
as above, so
Mm-hmm.
below. It's one of the. I thought about that earlier, but I didn't point it out.
No, we're not that one. The second one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
The second part.
Come on, Brandon, get with the program. There we
No,
go.
we
No,
we help each other because sometimes I forget.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
That's why. Yeah, I get it. We're both. Yeah, go ahead. We're
So
both
Dwight
perfectly
Goddard's
perfect.
second part of the verse 56 is he is inaccessible to favor or hate. He cannot be reached by profit or injury. He cannot be honored or humiliated. Thereby, he is honored by all. And so, the reason on the Stephen Mitchell side, I was focusing on like the God part of it all is because it says be like the Tao, which is to me, it's like be like God, be like
Mhm.
divine consciousness, like the infinite, you know. Um, but this part is talking about like what Brandon was talking about and applying it to yourself, right? So, are you inaccessible to favor or hate? You know, are you reached by profit or injury? Can you be honored or humiliated? And if it is the case that all those things are not true or true, then you're honored by all.
Yeah, it's about weathering the storm, right? Like the tree that's a little flexible gets through the storm better than the tree that's not flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It sways, it goes with the flow.
And like being inaccessible to favor or hate, it's like, who is that person? It's like the capybara, right? Because, some people, I guess to me, it's like the capybara. because he's just there. He's like hangs out with all the animals.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like
You
you're
can't hate him and you can't love him. You just he's there.
he's just hanging out. Yeah, because he doesn't have a problem with anybody. Like, and uh, it's really about the inner balance, just keeping an inner peace and a balance, no matter what happens or no matter who says what or what goes on. And you deal with what you have to do in the physical, but you just don't take it personally, and you keep that inner calm.
Yeah, the part that says he cannot be reached by profit or injury makes me think of politicians.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody that
Can you be
is,
bribed? Can you be bought out? You know,
yeah, reached by profit. And injury is like somebody, and it also could go with politicians because like,
bribery
or
or
yeah,
blackmail.
bribery or like insults and
Blackmail? Oh,
mudslinging and
insults.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, blackmail for sure. Yeah, yeah, that's some injury.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you don't have to worry about that, then you are in
Yeah.
accordance with the way.
And then if you cannot be honored or humiliated is to me like, okay, like earlier, Brandon didn't let me humiliate him. He just laughed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. It's I I my ego allowed the humor, right, to take him center stage, and my feelings didn't have to like it or whatever.
Yeah.
My
And then when people honor you, you're just like, okay, thanks. Like, thank you. But you don't let it be like, oh, I'm this, that, and the other now. So
I'm the
I'm
one who knows now.
the end all be all.
Yeah, or I'll be like, it was because of all the hard work and my attention to detail in the situation. Like that's what got me through, and focusing on the present moment, right, and not worrying about the future. I could say that's what got me through. It wasn't because I'm
Mhm.
just awesome, right?
And all these things, bring you
Make me awesome.
honor by all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next verse, Stan.
He who has attained enlightenment without contriving to do so is not concerned with making friends.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the thing, right? You're not just being a people pleaser, and you're not just, so you're still going with the flow, but in a different way. So people pleasers kind of go with the flow, but it's more in a way, it's like out of fear. This is, you're doing it, I guess you could say, out of love, really. And that's really what the difference would be. So you're just kind of going with the flow.
I love this, without contriving to do so.
Yeah,
It's
without
like it
contriving.
goes back to the freaking quote for today, right?
Yeah.
The proper function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. Jack London. So, without contriving to do so, you obtain enlightenment because you're just in the present moment. You're not like, oh, I must reach enlightenment. I must do all the things that XYZ says, and I must do them like this because XYZ.
There is no try. There's do
It's
or do
only
not.
do.
That's what it goes back to, right? When you're contriving, you're trying, you're not
Mhm.
doing it. You're in that symbolic
You're
reality.
in the state of desire, perhaps,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. 100%. Could be.
But you didn't finish reading that part.
Oh yeah. Is not concerned with making friends nor making enemies. And I think that goes back to like what I was saying with the people pleasing, and you're just doing your thing. And if you make friends, you make friends. And if you don't, you don't. You're not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being a politician, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With good harm, let's see, not concerned also with good, or you're not concerned with good or harm, with praise or blame. Such detachment is the highest state of man.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing like the other verses were saying with the injury and stuff, and the praise and blame. I like it.
Yeah, and the such detachment is the high state of man. That I like how he uses attachment as this concept here, because um you can be attached to making friends or making enemies, or you can be attached with doing something for good or for harm, or you can be attached to getting praise or to blame people or to get blamed. um
And what is all that? It's just people's attention. So it's a scale. Praise and blame are opposite ends of a scale of a human attention, right? Are you getting their praise or their blame? You could be attached to just getting their attention. And the other side of that is, if it is their blame, you can realize it's still their attention, it's still energy, and you can use it in any way you want if you don't take it personally.
mm-hmm. Yep.
All
Shall I
right.
read Aleister Crowley's version?
Yes.
All right, says he cannot be insulted either by familiarity or aversion. He is immune to ideas of gain or loss, of honor or disgrace. He is the true man, unequaled under heaven. Wow. So he
Truman.
takes it to, like, I think Mihal said this in the chat, but he takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, he does.
Um, he cannot be insulted either by familiarity or aversion. Can you break that down for me, please?
Yeah, I would say that
Or give me your thoughts on that.
familiarity would be, so it's the same thing with the praise or blame, kind of just saying it in a different way. But the familiarity, it's also like the friends or enemies thing. So
Mm-hmm.
he's not worried about people trying to be familiar, friendly, or being put off by what he says. Like he's just saying it. He's not saying it for an
Oh,
agenda, is another thing,
okay.
right? He has no agenda with what he's saying.
Okay.
He's just speaking his truth.
Aha. Yeah. Because this is all about he who speaks or he who doesn't speak, right? Um,
Common theme.
yes.
I like it.
Makes sense. And then he's immune to ideas of gain or loss. That's the other thing, being unattached, being not attached to whether what you're doing is going to bring some sort of gain or some sort of loss. Um, Going with the flow, basically, letting go and just saying, God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. And wherever you take me, that's where I'm meant to go. And whether it brings, I'm not attached to the end result, whatever the end result is, I will accept it as being for my good, even if it appears to be bad, right? Even if it looks like something's going to go wrong. Like, for example, you said Elizabeth got laid off last week, right? And you could look at it that way. And I know that's how Brandon is looking at it, because when one door closes, another one can open, right? So you never know why things happen. You just have to maintain like an attachment to the end result. I think expectation brings a sort of
Suffering.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
well said.
um and then being immune to honor or disgrace, this is all the stuff that we were talking about before in the other verses. But this is funny. He says he is the true man, unequaled under heaven. What do you think he means by that?
I think it's talking about like the sage or the master, the true man. So it's like the ultimate goal, I guess you could say, or it's just the best way to live because he's unequal. There's nobody that's better than him. But again, it's not really about a better as in like a competition, but just, he has the less amount of suffering. How about that? Like,
Yeah, yeah, indeed. um
indeed.
I and just like, maybe we don't have to talk about this a whole lot, but Aleister Crowley is demonized by the greater population or the whatever you want to call it, the mainstream and stuff. But like he has this translation, and I don't know, I like he like to me it's like, how did he write this stuff and how did he translate all this and still be demonized? I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he was the best guy or a good guy or anything like that. I'm just like, I think it's kind of crazy and amazing that he was able to do this
I
with
think
as
it's
bad a reputation as he has, you know,
I think it's kind of the role he was chose to play,
in this
maybe,
lifetime. Yeah.
and I don't really know what if it was a facade or he really did all these crazy things, but it's possible, it was just for the public eye or slander. But it goes back to the whole pedestal and pit thing that we talk about, where the way Sharon and I kind of do it, we just take him with a grain of salt, and we're not gonna spend our time loving him or hating him. Obviously we love him because he's God, right? So we do love him, but we're not gonna take our attention with judging him either way, right? Like, and we're not gonna say he's the end all, no all, be all, but we do love his interpretation of the Tao, and I don't think he's evil, but maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to be evil.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. Like
but I think it's more like he was kind of being that bad guy in the public eye, like that was his thing, like his role, But then this Tao gets released, and it's like, wow, this is beautiful. So,
yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, again, I take things with a grain of salt, and I just read things, and if it resonates for me, and when I say resonate, I'm just talking about my deep inner guidance, my deep intuition, and my Holy Spirit within me that Jesus talked about. And so if I find that it is helping me find my blind spots and do all that stuff, then it's beneficial for me. If I see something that's kind of like, I don't know about that, or I don't know that that doesn't make sense or whatever, I leave it. It's like, eat the pie but spit out the pits. If you find a cherry pit in cherry pie, then just spit the pit out.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
keep enjoying your cherry pie.
Cherry pie. Yeah, it's like the baby in the bathwater kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you find a hair in your food, that's great having long hair. I'm just like, oh, it's just my hair. Just keep eating. I mean,
Yeah. I find my as short as it is, I still like it's shed all the time. It's like I find it on my clothes and everywhere. It's like
hair is like another medium I exist in. There's like oxygen, like water, fish exist in water. I exist in hair. It's like, it's on my hands. I thought I got it off. I'm like, how's there still?
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh yeah.
well, so we check the chat then. Let's see what's going on. It's a good time.
Sure.
Cat hair, even better. LOL. Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Oh my
He must
gosh.
have had divine intervention. Know thyself. There you go.
Yeah, Kathleen's talking about Crowley. He must have had divine intervention. Yeah. Why not? He was a part of God too, just like all of us.
Yeah. I think it's when you get hung up on the person and the deeds. It's one of those things, It's like there's probably better things to talk about. That's why I'm like, not with you, obviously. I mean, let me try to rephrase that. That came out wrong. In my own life, I don't get too fired up about it. There's better things for me to spend my attention on than if
Yeah,
you were close.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I know you
Yeah,
feel
it was just just a quick side note.
it. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I like that because a lot of things we talk about are demonized. Tarot. I think people are more open to it now, but yeah, I think he loves his bad reputation.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
he wanted
Like he was
that.
trolling,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
Like we said that before. We think he was trolling, but we don't
Trolling,
know.
also like uh maybe he just thought that's what the people needed, like that was his calling, his dharma.
Yeah.
There's really nobody. Well, I guess there are people like that. And like people think like Bill Gates is evil and stuff like that.
Yeah. Some people say he's dead. And
Yeah. They had the coolest evil people back in the day, though. Our people now are like, they're not even scary. Like, I'm not scared of Bill Gates. He's not like, anyway, or like Elon Musk. He's like evil. It's like, yeah, but I don't know. He doesn't scare me. All right. If it was like Andre the Giant, if he was like, I'd be like, all right, that guy, we got to do something about him.
He's a
All
big
right.
guy.
All right. So should we get into the next verse?
Shall we do 57?
I mean, I'm down if you're down.
Okay, let's do it.
We still have time. We got nothing but time. All right, verse 57. Um, okay, I gotta move that. My zoom's in the way. Stephen Mitchell's version from 1988. If you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control. Let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself. The more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous people will be.
Hmm.
The more weapons you have, the less secure people will be. The more subsidies you have, the less self reliant people will be. Therefore, the master says, I let go of the law, and people become honest. I let go of economics, and people become prosperous. I let go of religion, and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass.
Wow. Dwight Goddard from 1919, The Habit of Simplicity. The empire is administered with righteousness, the army is directed by craft. The people are captivated by non-diplomacy. How do I know it is so? By this same Tao. Among people, the more restrictions and prohibitions there are, the poorer they become. The more people have weapons, the more the state is in confusion. The more people are artful and cunning, the more abnormal things occur. The more laws and orders are issued, the more thieves and robbers abound. Therefore, the wise man says, if a ruler practices Wu Wei, the people will reform of themselves. If I love quietude in people, if I love quietude, the people will of themselves become righteous. If I avoid profit making, the people will of themselves become prosperous. Did I read that right? If I limit my desires to people, if I limit my desires, the people will of themselves become simple.
It's all that 1919 speak.
Yeah.
All right. Great job. It's a little confusing. So, Stan Rosenthal from 1984. Simplification doesn't look very simple, Stan. With natural justice, people must be ruled, and if war be waged, strategy and tactics used. To master oneself, one must act without cunning. The greater number of laws and restrictions, the poorer the people who inhabit the land. The sharper the weapons of battle and war, the greater the troubles besetting the land. The greater the cunning with which people are ruled, the stranger the things which occur in the land. The harder the rules and regulations, the greater the number of those who will steal. The sage, therefore, does not contrive in order to bring about reform, but teaches the people peace of mind in order that they might enjoy their lives. Having no desires, all he does is natural. Since he teaches self sufficiency, the people who follow him return to a good, uncomplicated life. Wow.
Aleister Crowley entitles it The True Influence. One may govern a state by restriction. Weapons may be used with skill and cunning. But one acquireth true command only by freedom given and taken. How am I aware of this? By experience that to multiply restrictive laws in the kingdom impoverisheth the people. The use of machines causeth disorder in state and race alike. The more men use skill and cunning, the more machines there are. And the more laws there are, the more felons there are. A wise man has said this, I will refrain from doing, and the people will act rightly of their own accord. I will love silence, and the people will instinctively turn to perfection. I will take no measures, and the people will enjoy true wealth. I will restrain ambition, and the people will attain simplicity.
Amazing.
Hmm.
What have I always been saying? More laws, more problems, baby. He's like, the
Tony
more laws there are.
Tony Coriolis did pound. He did hashtag more laws, more problems
Oh, yeah,
in the
Tony's
chat.
there with it. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
Aleister knew. He could have been that evil, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you know. There's something about this verse, the way it reads, I don't know, it's more like poetic than some of the other ones, I guess you could
It
say.
is. It is poetic.
It's really, really cool. All right, let's get into breaking it down. This is gonna be fun. All right, so oh come on, Zoom. Need to have a conference call with the creators of Zoom. All right. Stephen Mitchell, if you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. So they've talked about this a lot earlier in the previous verses.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to control, let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself.
Mm.
So this, these guidelines that you could tell it's really not for politicians because politicians aren't interested in any of this. People who are like running for president, that's why it's like, oh, what do you mean you don't vote? It's like, well, they're not interested in
The Tao.
yeah, there you go. At all. So it's like this is more of that's why I look at this as a guide for yourself in the inner governance of inside. It's like the Hierophant card, right? Shout out to MS. He pulled a Hierophant. That's really what that is. It's about the inner balance you have in the Rider Waite. You have the two people in front of this Pope like guy, and they're kind of bowing down in front of him. You see the tops of their heads, right? They're showing their adoration. That's what that reminds me of. Or what that reminds me of is the inner work, like the left and right hand side of your brain, or left and right side of your brains, of your brain.
Honoring the divine within you.
Honoring the divine within you, exactly. And so that's how I look at this. Now, obviously, if you're going to govern a country, yeah, it would be great if you went by the Tao, and maybe this is how they start. This is how the founding fathers, you could say that they kind of based their governance. They must have read the Tao or looked at the Tao. Didn't we talk about that maybe, or am I making this up? But everything starts off great. It's just that as it goes along, it starts to go off the rails. But again, it's perfect because it'll all come back into harmony. Or it is in harmony, right? But anyway, yeah, I guess that's just what I wanted to say about that, because it's a lot of the things that in this verse they're talking about the government. You could take that and use that as in your inner world.
Yes, that's a good point. The more prohibitions, I think, is where you left off.
Yeah, the more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous people will be. So this is something, right? Law enforcement. This is a big one, right? The more anarchists talk about this all the time, but people, it's like legalizing weed. There's probably less people that smoke weed now, kind of thing, because they can do it, right? It's like after a while. But actually, it's probably a bad example because I think everyone's high and drunk right now. But it's cool. But it's that whole thing where it's like you're not supposed to do it, so people want to do it, and you make all these laws. It's like whenever you tell someone that they can't do something, they're going to want to do it, especially when they have internal issues like we all have, right, that we're working on.
Yeah.
So I love that because it's contradictory, right? It's a
paradox.
Exactly the word I was looking for. It's a paradox, but we could illustrate it very we can highlight it really well. Easily, yes. And then the more, this is a great one. Okay, so that's probably why I was doing all that talking, because this one, the weapons one, right? So, Brandon, how do you feel about the more weapons you have, the less secure you'll be, right? Because we always talk about like you should be able to defend yourself. I think that's really true though, because like Metallica says, to secure peace is to prepare for war. It's like in this country, people are like, you should be able to own weapons and all this stuff. And I agree, it's cool.
But you shouldn't have to, you shouldn't have someone having to tell you that.
Yeah, that's true too. But what I was gonna say is the thing that is kind of weird that I can also make, I can make a objective observation on this country is that there are a lot of fucking guns in this country. Like, and it gets to the point where people, it's like a sport. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a ton of guns, because if you're somebody who follows the Tao, it's never going to be a problem. But you can also say to yourself, hey, do you think it's like someone's trying to set us up for a civil war? Like, or do you think the gun companies are just trying to get rich, and they're working on your insecurities and your need to pleasure all your senses? And I'm talking, I allegedly probably own a bunch of guns, so it's not like I'm talking about myself to everybody. But it really is nuanced, right? It's not like it's either all guns or no guns, because arguments could be made. Now, that doesn't mean that
Yes.
argument I make about maybe there's too many guns and it could be a little scary to some people because of that. That doesn't mean that you should stop, that I don't say you should then use that argument to stop people from buying guns or whatever. Obviously, I'm not going that far, but it is a conversation that can be had because it's fucking crazy. But these days it is really hard to get guns around here. So I'm not worried about like a civil war or anything. It's not my concern, but something totally could be said for it. Like, are you attached to your guns? So,
Yeah.
but I can also see the point too, where look at the United States and we have this giant military. I was a part of it, and it's like if you have a big military or weapon or whatever, it's like you want to use it. In between World War I and II, we basically decommissioned our armies. We didn't even have big armies, but after World War II, we've been this presence on the world stage, and we've basically been at war since. I mean, technically, you could say we've been at war since our inception in one form or another, but the way it is on the world stage now with such a huge military presence since World War II. So you could see how that has gotten us entangled in all these crazy things that we probably shouldn't be sending American people to. Our good sons and daughters. So
Yeah.
that's another one of the points I think they're trying to make too. If you want to be a great leader, you don't want to stockpile tons of weapons.
And then that last piece of, did you read? I think you read all of it, right? The more subsidies you have, the less self-reliant people will be. So if you have like the government providing all these things like, oh, you'll get, if you just sign up with us, we'll give you all this free stuff. We'll give you food stamps and we'll give you government cheese and we'll do
Yeah,
all
gum and
this.
cheese.
Remember
Some
government cheese?
Oh
We'll give
yeah.
you all this stuff. And then it's like people are like, okay, they become reliant on that. And so they're less reliant on themselves. And how much more control can something like that have over someone than someone who says, no, thanks, I'll figure it out. I can, nothing wrong with taking something like that if you absolutely do need it. But because I mean, I grew up poor. So like, I'm not, making fun of it at all. But but the idea is to continue to stay reliant on it is the question. And if you absolutely need it, take it. Like do what you have to do. Um, but it really, if you're relying on it and like, oh, you think it's always going to be there, it might not always be there.
Yeah, it's another one of those ooh, topics that's really nuanced because there's two sides to this argument, right? You have the liberal side and the conservative side. We'll just use the easy labels, right? Where talk about like welfare, for example. People are like, how dare these people are starving and we have the money. We're spending. I was just talking about all the wars, right? They're spending on all the wars. What if we just spent it on the people? And then the conservative side is like, oh, they gotta pull themselves up by their bootstraps and stuff. But really what happens is a dependency forms. And right now we're in the middle of this cycle. So either of those answers are better when they were about to implement the cycle. They should have had that discussion then. The barn door is already open. The horse is left. You're having this discussion that's meaningless, right? We have to deal with what we're in right now. And I think that if people start to live more in accordance with the Tao, then we wouldn't need government subsidies and handouts and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And it's up to the people. It's like anarcho-capitalism. We're like, well, you just end government and it'll be great. It's like, well, yeah, the way we end government is people start living in accordance with the Tao, and then we don't even need a government. It just goes away all on
But
its own, right?
but that really that depends on if people are going to live in accordance with the Tao or not. And in this moment that we're in, very, very few people are doing that. So,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
use it if you need it, right?
yeah, yeah, brings the question of like, when people
Yep.
are like, oh, how come you don't like anarchy or why? Or like, yeah, the principles of it they're right and good, but for a certain time period, right? For when those things are doable because the people are in line with it. But if the people aren't in line with it, it's just not doable.
Exactly. People have to arrive to that conclusion on their own naturally. It has to become the natural state. You can't force that. So what do? We just there's nothing to do. We just have to realize we're perfect. One person at a time. So just work on yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say as far as that, you just do what you can. If you know somebody that needs something and you got extra things, you help them out, like
Yeah. To, within reason, when you can, don't do it to be a people pleaser, right? And also recognize that you need to have a boundary as well. And if people because I've experienced like being very giving and people I feel like kind of taking advantage where they're just like they become reliant on that and they're like, oh, well, I thought you could still, and then it's like, no, no, not anymore. I'm done.
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
have to have a boundary because they become reliant, like, oh, it was coming in so easy, so quick, and it's like,
And
no.
all they do is hate themselves for not being able to pay you back. It's like an
Mm-hmm.
addict, addict. It's like a drug addict. So he's in the attic, but he's an addict. He's
Mm-hmm.
hiding out in the attic. When you enable,
It's
you're enabling
enabling.
them, right? Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
enabling. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there's nothing wrong with sharing around in not
Giving
having
from your
fear.
heart.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
good way to show that you don't have fear of um lack being around, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But again, you don't want to create dependencies because it really is people have to have like a rock bottom and learn on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there is something to the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But like again, there's so many
It's
holes
nuanced.
in the or yeah, it's too
Yeah.
nuanced to just get on one side and hold up a sign. In my opinion, that's why I don't do it. But if that's what you're called to do, hey, hold up that sign, man. I want to. We should make a series of lawn voting signs that are just like, I know what's best and here's my opinion. You should do what I think. Like things like signs like that, like because what are lawn signs really saying? Like, I'm gonna vote for this guy because you have a giant sign. I was
Oh
driving by and
my.
they had pictures of the people. And it's like, vote for me. I'm a woman. And there because there's a woman, a black guy, and a black woman. So I was like, vote for me. I'm a woman. And the one guy's like, vote for me. I'm a black guy. And the one lady's like, I'm a black woman. Vote for me. It's like,
Oh wow. That's like the pinnacle.
yeah. Or actually, it was I couldn't really determine. I couldn't really determine what race she was. I'm like, I'm just racially, ambiguous. Like, vote for me. You could tell all your friends you did, and they'll think you're cool. It's like anyway, get out and vote, everybody.
You
uh,
gotta vote. I'm getting
yeah,
that from Cody because I don't even know what that is, what that's from.
it's funny.
It was somebody making fun of voting or something.
where were we?
The habit of simplicity, unless you want to read through the whole thing. Sorry,
Uh,
Dwight
the
Goddard.
more
Should I read the
substance. Yeah.
first part
Okay.
of
Yeah.
Dwight?
So yeah.
Or
Yes.
did you finish? Did you want to say more about that?
Nope. No, we finished it. I just didn't have it highlighted, but we totally talked about it. We're good.
All right, the Dwight Goddard, verse 57, the habit of simplicity. The empire is administered with righteousness. The army is directed by craft. The people are captivated by non-diplomacy. How do I know it is so? By this same Tao. All right, let's see. Well, I'll just keep reading. Among people, the more restrictions and prohibitions there are, the poorer they become. The more people have weapons, the more the state is in confusion. The more people are artful and cunning, the more abnormal things occur. The more laws and orders are issued, the more thieves and robbers abound. This is more laws, more problems,
Yeah,
people.
there we go. Dwight said it too. I just didn't catch it that time.
Yeah.
I love that too because the empire is administered with righteousness. The army is directed by craft, and the army is totally directed by craft because what else is controlling an army but mind control, no matter what side you're on? Because even if it's a defensive army where these people are coming over the hill to destroy your whole way of life in your village, and you gather together your militia, it's because you believe you want to exist more than them and you like your way of life. So it's still a mind control belief thing, and you're all concentrated, everyone's together collectively with this goal in mind of self-preservation. But our army's a little different, right? We have to believe in like terrorism and weapons of mass destruction or whatever, and we got to go get them before they get us, kind of thing. But that's still the mind control. That's the craft that he's talking about that's employed. So I just wanted to say that because I think that was great, because I don't think people really realize that that's how an army operates, through mind control. Essentially,
Government, govern the mind.
more
Would it
laws, more
be?
problems. I've been saying it for
Um,
years, everybody. Don't blame me.
yeah, I missed a little what you said at the beginning because I froze.
Oh, all right.
But I noticed that you kept going on my stream, and I was like, okay, hopefully I'll wait and it'll come back. So it came back.
Yeah, basically I was just saying if you're in an army, you have to have a collective goal in mind. So it's in your mind,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
all right. And then how do I know? By the same Tao, right? Oh, the people are captivated by non-diplomacy. So it's like that same thing where, because diplomacy is all about trying to like get your way and all this stuff, and it's when you're not mingling, right? That's what they like when they could just do their thing and they don't have to worry about what's on the news.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that part, so thanks for explaining that. Because I think um what I'm really terrible at like all the political words and jargon and stuff because I never took interest in that ever in school. And so when you're like, let's for example say that I'm diplomatic, right? Like when I say something to somebody, I try to be diplomatic or whatever. Does that mean that I'm trying to like, cater to both sides, or just to not be? Explain that to me. Sorry, I need to.
You're basically people pleasing, right?
Okay.
You can look at it a few different ways. Like if you're going into work and like be diplomatic, it's kind of like like I was saying before, you don't want to like drop the C word, and you're
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of like that, right? Also, you could be, but when you're talking to somebody, especially from another country, and you're being diplomatic, you want something from them. So you're trying to please them in a way, and you're trying to make them see your
Mm,
point of view, and you're trying to
okay.
get what you want. So I guess it's kind of like that. But diplomacy is looked at as a good thing in government because they want to keep like an equilibrium and keep the peace and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, but it could
From
be like a form of people pleasing and
okay.
manipulation. There you
Yeah,
go.
okay. Okay. It is nuanced because the way I see it, like I do it like to be all things to all people, like Paul said. And that's one of the reasons some people dislike Paul because of that, right? Because he's
Yeah,
diplomatic, I guess.
I could see that. Yeah, because people are like, well, you got to pick a stance, man. If you're not
Yeah.
with them, you're
Yeah.
against them, man.
I-
If you're not with us, you're with them, George Bush,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I don't have to be with anybody. I'm with myself.
I'm a capybara, man. I'm just riding the back of this alligator, this caiman. I'm just riding this caiman.
Uh,
Excuse me. All right,
yeah.
let's.
So, and then the rest of the stuff is pretty much what we covered in the last verse. The more
Yeah.
people have weapons, the more
Yep.
confusion, the more um people, what is see people are full and cunning, the more abnormal. Did we I don't think that was in the other one.
No, but I would say, it goes along with the diplomatic kind of stuff, but this is
Okay.
just not on a governmental level, scheming and
Okay.
Is that the
More
site?
laws and orders. Yep. So yeah, it's pretty much what we covered already. Shall we go to the next
Yeah,
version?
let's do it. No bears out there today, just neighbors. What are you gonna do?
I hear a blower out there right now
Yeah,
and
their
some
neighbor
weed
was
whackers.
earlier. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny because Elizabeth was like, because there's, I looked out, I'm like, there's Spanish people out there blowing. Like, I don't, like the other neighbor. This guy always does his own, but, and because when I see people, like cutting their lawn because they hear other people cutting the lawn, that's kind of like my joke I'm working on or whatever.
Oh,
It's, I think lawnmowers and blowers are allowed on purpose because it makes other people feel bad that they're not cutting the lawn. And
oh
like
yeah.
when they're out there, they're just like, what would my dad think? Like, daddy, right? Like, I just got to make my daddy proud. So when I told Elizabeth there's Spanish people out there, she's like, maybe papa. She's like, me papa. She's like, what my papa say?
Papa.
She's so funny. I love Elizabeth. Yeah, I was dying. I'm
That's
like,
hilarious.
I'm supposed to be the funny one. All the ladies are being so funny, really, in my life. What's going on? Sharon's hilarious. Elizabeth's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm
See,
so blessed.
we can be funny too.
Oh yeah, no, I love it.
Just
Trust me. That's what.
kidding.
Well, that's the funny thing. People think because I'm like a comedian and want to be funny. I'm like, no, I love when everyone's funny. Like that's my goal. Like to live in just a funny society. All right. So we're on to Stan Rosenthal.
Mm-hmm.
Simplification. With natural justice, people must be ruled. And if war be waged, strategy and tactics used. That's a little different. So I think they're saying, basically saying, if war be waged, so if you have to go to war, you should use strategy and tactics. So it's like you don't want to just blindly go to war for no reason. You kind of want to have a purpose and a plan so you can get out, so you don't get quagmired in like Vietnam or Afghanistan. you know, More like the Revolutionary War, I guess you could say, where they had a purpose. All right. To master oneself, one must act without cunning. So we talked about that in the last verse without the cunning. But it's funny because it's a little, because usually people use cunning out in the world to deceive other people. So he's basically saying if you don't want to deceive yourself, don't deceive other people.
Mm.
The greater number of laws and restrictions, more laws, more problems. All right,
Mm-hmm.
we covered that. The sharper the weapons, the battles of war. Yep, great old troubles. Now again, people, you have to, I think, kind of with self love comes a need and a want to preserve yourself. But I think with the times in the Tao, they're just talking about like avoiding war totally. Like if communities that live in accordance with the Tao, for some reason, they probably don't have to worry about war, but still be prepared. We're not telling you to not do that stuff. Uh, Here we go. The greater the cunning with which people are ruled. Yep, that's pretty much the same. The stranger the things which occur in the land. I like the way he puts it though. The stranger the things. The stranger things occur. It's so true though. The harder the rules and regulations, the greater the number of those who will steal. Again,
Mm.
more laws, more problems. He
Mm-hmm.
said it twice. All right.
Yeah. I don't quite understand that at the beginning. With natural justice, people must be ruled.
With the natural justice, people must be ruled. So he's basically saying people must be ruled with natural justice.
Okay.
So like in a natural way. He just broke it up.
Rule people with, if you're going to rule people, rule them with natural justice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Aleister Crowley.
Crowley. Oh, I keep doing that. There we go. All right.
The true influence. One may govern a state by restriction. Weapons may be used with skill and cunning, but one acquires true command only by freedom given and taken. How am I aware of this? By experience, that to multiply restrictive laws in the kingdom impoverishes the people. The use of machines causes disorder in state and race alike. The more men use skill and cunning, the more machines there are. And the more laws there are, the more felons there are. Indeed.
Pretty much what the other guys said. I mean, what do you think? Are you clear?
He says one may govern a state by restriction. As in, you can try to do that. You can try to govern a state by restriction.
With
You
laws.
can try to use weapons with skill and cunning, but for true command, it's only by freedom, given and taken. So, like a true governance doesn't have to govern. It, like to truly command, it's by freedom. You just let people be. You give them their freedom and they'll give you yours.
And this is why Aleister Crowley is so demonized, because if you take this on the micro, as above, so below, and you look at it in the lens of do as thou wilt, this is what he's saying. Inner, right? You don't have this tough restriction on yourself and beat yourself up and use all these rules that you're not supposed to do this and you can only eat one meal a day and shouldn't eat bread and all these things. You just got to realize that you're perfect and it'll all fall into place. Whoa.
Yeah. And if you need to, for whatever reason, let it all out and get it all out, all the things that you're attached to. And maybe Crowley did those things, the things that people say he did. I don't know. I don't know him. I didn't meet him. I don't know anything about him. I kind of have an idea of what's written in the wiki about him. You know what I mean? But that's just, I wasn't there. I don't know him. And
He's like, I'll be a huckleberry. You know, he's like, I'll be your demon, your devil.
yeah.
I'll be
And,
the conduit for all of your negative attention.
yeah, scapegoat, you know?
Yeah, we were just talking about scapegoats. Well, I mean, Elizabeth and I.
I had a
So,
feeling. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
this is good. Okay.
so yeah,
Part two.
yeah. And I mean, Aleister Crowley isn't writing this from his own experience. He's translating, but he's translating Lao Tzu. And Lao Tzu says, how am I aware of this? By experience, that to multiply restrictive laws in the kingdom impoverishes the people. See through your crystal ball.
I'm trying to see, make my eye
Gaze,
really big. There it is.
crystal gazing. All right. I have an egg-shaped one.
Oh yeah.
Little egg. I think it's agate or something. I can't
Oh
remember
yeah.
what
I
it
like
was.
it. Amazing.
But yeah. So he's basically saying the same thing.
Totally. Totally.
And use of machines, which is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, I like that whole. It's like the mechanized. Here we can even in the kingdom, impoverished people get used to machines, cause it disorder. So the whole machine thing brings you back to Dune with automating things. So sometimes it's good to automate a certain amount of tasks that you have to perform as a man or woman, but
Like dishwasher or
when
lawn,
you go too
the wall.
far, I
Yeah.
mean, I think a dishwasher is too far. How dare you, Sharon? I destroyed my dishwasher. It was an evil machine. That's actually what happens in Dune in the earlier things. It's crazy. They go overboard. What a surprise! But that's
AI.
because I feel like society starts to mirror what we do. Big shock, right? But it's the same thing with like social media and stuff. But the behavior starts to get more mechanical too when everything's mechanized. So just go for a walk in the woods. Go for a walk somewhere. You don't always have to drive everywhere, right? Or something. Wash your dishes once in a while, right? No,
Yeah,
but
we mostly hand wash. Every once in a while we
yeah,
run the dishwasher just to keep it
yeah, no,
going.
yeah. But that's
I'm
the
not
thing.
saying that to boast. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
just that's what happens because we just don't end up loading the dishwasher, so we end up washing them by hand.
no, I hear you. All
That's what
righty,
happens.
let's get
Shall we
on.
do the second part?
Yeah, shall we? Let's. Therefore, the master says, I let go of the law and people become honest. It's really like what we talked about. I let go of economics and people become prosperous. I let go of religion and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass. And that reminds me of I just see myself and everything is perfect, and it just falls into alignment as perfect. It becomes perfect.
Hmm. I love that. I let go of economics and people become prosperous.
It's the worrying. It's the worrying of something. It's that fear is what you manifest it. It brings it
Mm.
into your reality because you're so worried about it happening.
Yeah.
You
I
picture,
let go of religion and people become serene. Wow.
yeah, I like that.
And this here, okay. This one's huge. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass. Okay. What's going on in the world today, right? I don't really know because I don't really watch a lot of news or anything like that. But I'm told sometimes of things that are going on in the world, right?
Yeah, like the pager bombs. Did you hear about that? Yikes.
No.
No, it's great in Lebanon. A bunch of pagers blew up
Where?
in Lebanon, I guess. Pagers and cell phones and whatever. It was Hezbollah. I don't know. My friend just sent me something. I was like, whoa,
Oh,
that's crazy. But
no, I
you're
didn't
right, though,
know
right?
that.
It's like, but are you worried about it, though?
Right. Okay, here's the thing. Uh, here's the Tao, guys. I let go of all desire for the common good. What's that saying?
Oh, the other Tao about the world being perfect.
Yeah. Like,
Uh, if you
because
tamper
like,
with it, you'll ruin it, right?
yeah, e- everything's happening for a reason. Like, and it makes me think of that analogy you just said about video game getting more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. And could it be the video games getting turned on to what do you call that mode?
Expert legendary mode.
Legendary mode. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. And everything that's going on around you is it's legendary mode. And some people that you call NPCs or whatever need to experience that for whatever reason. Or like I'm not there. And I'm not saying I'm better for not being there, but I am experiencing something different because for whatever reason I chose that for this lifetime to experience this, and my fellow Lebanese person experienced living in that, right? It doesn't make me better than better, nothing. It just it is what it is. And we're in this expert level legendary mode in this game right now. And we just have to see where the chips fall, but it's this sentence just blows my mind because it's I let go of all desire for the common good. Why? Because it's a desire. Whether it is a good or a bad one, it's still a desire. You're like, no, don't, that can't happen. It shouldn't be happening in the world. That's evil. That's bad. Why? Right? I'm preaching to myself. Okay, guys. This just spoke to me. This is crazy. I can't even like, wow. I let go of all desire for the common good. I don't think it means that I can't still ask God for or pray and say, God, I just want the best that you have for everyone involved and I want the best outcome. I don't think that's it's saying you can't do that, but it's probably more of an attached desire that you want to see everything like perfectly neat and perfectly organized and perfectly. It's that, I think.
Yeah, that's what
Could it
people
be?
like think. Yeah, could it be? It could. That's the point. I feel like people, the assumption they make when you tell them that you think the world's perfect, they think because they're understanding of the world perfect, they're like, oh, so they must, they're like, oh, you mean that you like
You
what's going,
love all the evil in the world.
you're happy with the way it is. No, you could still inside wish, like, oh, I wish there was more peace and I hope it works out for everybody. And I know it is. But it's like, no, I'm just not taking it personally. I'm not letting it affect my day because I realize that there is some kind of plan. My belief system involves there being a plan with God and stuff. And these people are just immortal and they're going to figure it all out. Dude, that's exactly what fucking Charles Manson was saying in that show. He's like, people are immortal anyway, man. It's like, what's that?
Right, right. Well, I sent you
So
a
that's why
quote.
it's go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, keep talking. I'll just find it.
I was just gonna say that's why this stuff is like, but that's really all we're saying is it's just about not being a victim and not saying looking at the world and feeling like a victim because of what's going on. You understand that you let go of your attachment for you wanting it to be peaceful and better or different. You could still work toward it being different and stuff. You just let go of that attachment.
That's
And that's
huge.
why it's so close. And that's why they're like, like that whole thing about David David Foster Wallace, David Wallace Foster, one of those guys. He did this whole commencement speech that was huge, and then he opened it with a joke where it was like this older fish was swimming by these two young fish, and he was like, "Hey boys, how's the water today?" And when the
And they're
two
like,
young
what's
fish went
water?
by,
I'm just kidding.
the one fish was like, "What's water?" Yeah, it's the same thing where we're so close to the actual real reality, but we're in this symbolic reality right behind it where we have to narrate these things. I feel like I keep getting stuck in these like I'm repeating myself, but it's that's what it is. And when you're just enjoying it, you could still have the ice cream. That's the best part. You could either deny yourself the ice cream, or you can eat the ice cream out of guilt, or you could just say to yourself, hey, I'm going to eat the ice cream because that's what's perfect, and you can eat it and enjoy it.
You can have your cake and eat it too. I'm just kidding.
But once you eat it, it's gone. But you can
Yes.
enjoy the moment. And
Yes.
yes.
So all this reminded me of a quote I sent you by David R. Hawkins. And it says the following: man's calamity is God's opportunity. Yes. How many people turned to God as a result of Hurricane Katrina? Because you got nothing left but God. Sometimes that's what it takes to find God. And that was so synchronistic. I saw it the other day because I've been hearing about at least one town in Florida that got pretty much wiped off with the last storm that went
Oh,
through.
what town?
It's called Steenhatchee,
Oh,
and it's just pretty much wiped. It's gone. And you can, yes, of course, you can feel sorry for people and just be like, wow, that's really tough. I don't understand, I don't know how can someone deal with something like that? I mean, but at the same time, what if that you can't say anything about like, well, that's, God is not kind because he allowed that to happen or whatever, right? Because everything happens for a reason. Again, could it be that this is the moment that brings them closer to God? Could it be?
I love how you said all that because it reminds me of the way that we enunciate our views on the spiritual versus the physical. And so the physical, if you're talking about things in the lens of physical, yeah, that's terrible when people die, right? All this stuff. And then spiritual, but spiritual is based on your own belief system. So it's different for everybody. So you can't really prove the spiritual in this physical realm. You have to embrace the mystery. So that's why when we talk about all these things, that's exactly it's a speculation more of a, like more of a speculation. So that allows us to say things like, hey, from our point of view, the way that we view what this is and what we're here to do, we think that the world is perfect. We don't agree with everything that's going on and we kind of wish there was less suffering, but in a way it could be looked at that the suffering is helping these people from a spiritual view, from their eternal soul. They're if you believe in God, then they're gonna, you know, this isn't the end for them. Don't worry about it. You're just worried about there's gonna be a part two and a part three. There's Rocky 5,000, right? There's gonna be so many iterations. So don't worry about what happens in the first one. But again, we're basing all this on the spiritual view, which is just our point of view, and we can't prove it. We're just accepting a mystery. So that's how we see the world as perfect, right? And if we're wrong, shucks, we were wrong. We could reassess and it's fine because
We weren't attached to our view.
exactly, we weren't attached to the view and we could be more open-minded, and this is how we could seek more truth. So that's how we could say the world is perfect from a spiritual view. Now, yeah, I'm just cool. I just like it because I feel like I'm expanding. I have this explanation of how the world's perfect. And sometimes when you talk, it explodes something in my brain and I get to like bring something else into the whole explanation. And that's really what it is. It's the spiritual view. It's funny how these different ideas that we've had, we talked about it over Sharon, are now coming together. You know what I mean? It's like we're feeling the elephant. We're like, we had a knee, and now we're like, wait a minute, I think it's an elephant. You know, it's like we're
The
putting everything together.
tenets, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly.
Shall
Amazing.
we read Dwight Goddard?
Yes, we shall. I am having an amazing time today. This is great. I don't even like sometimes if we go for over 2 hours,
You
I'll get
start feeling
sore.
it.
Yeah, my back was a little sore, but I kind of let go of the pain and just shifted, and I'm good now. You know.
Yay.
All right. So Dwight Goddard,
Verse
second part.
57, Dwight Goddard, the
Yes.
second part
Therefore.
says, therefore, the wise man says, if a ruler practices wu wei, which is the not doing, which is like the concept of the Tao, the people will reform of themselves. If I love quietude, the people will of themselves become righteous. If I avoid profit making, the people will of themselves become prosperous. If I limit my desires, the people will of themselves become simple. So this is from a ruler's perspective, like the quote rulers of the world.
Yep. And again, you look at it in the inner
Yes, and
quote.
if you you rule yourself. Get a little closer to the mic if you can, or
You
feel like you'll
allow it to happen. No, thank you, Sharon. You're right. You allow it to be inside you, and then it's like there's another verse. It's in the I forget what verse number it is, but in the Tao where it says something like, if you want something, if you want to get rid of something, allow it to flourish. If you want to live, allow yourself to die. So and it's attachment, right? It's not, it's
Mhm.
like if you want to get rid of whatever it is, you can't be attached to wanting to get rid of it. Let it flourish and just be okay with it. And then it'll just go
Mhm.
away on its own.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so crazy because it's like we're here to learn these lessons. And if you just go along the whole time, it reminds you of like Rudy. You ever see the movie, not Rudy Giuliani?
I
Rudy.
I think a long time ago, but I don't remember it.
So there's this movie where Samwise Gamgee played football.
Yes.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, that's our show. No, and no matter what you do to this guy, he does not give up. Like and everyone just starts to love him. At first, they pick on him, and he's just like, whatever, dude. It's kind of like when you see somebody who is, I don't know, I don't want to say retarded because retarded people are not people with Down syndrome. It's totally different. So whatever you say, mentally handicapped, or it's like you see someone like that, you just want them to win because most times they just have this great attitude, right?
Yeah.
It's not to disparage anybody, but this is what I'm talking about. If you can have that attitude toward life, it's going to bounce off you. You're going to be like Neo in the Matrix. That is another
Yeah.
Matrix analogy. That's really what he's talking about. All those bullets that are getting shot that Neo just stops. He doesn't have to dodge them anymore because that's what happens, right? As you wake up. First, when people talk shit about you, just avoid it, right? But then you're like, whatever, dude, you just stop it because you realize you're the one who's in control of how you
You have
feel.
this like energy shield around you, and they just stop right in front of the energy shield because they just can't go through. Your your
Yeah.
your energy doesn't allow those things to penetrate your consciousness and cause you to be upset or anything.
Yeah, once you realize that you're the one who controls your inner state and how you
Hmm.
feel, exactly.
Hmm.
That's really what all that is about, taking an energy and putting it out. You could just explain it to somebody simply like that. That's not into like woo stuff. You could be like, listen, if you don't get offended, they can't. There's nothing you could do. It's like a vampire. You have to invite him in. If you don't invite him in, just don't listen to what he's saying. They famously have silver tongues. They're gonna talk their way into
Oh
your.
my
Just
god.
put up a sign that says no soliciting or vampires or politicians. and you'll be great. That's what we did recently. And so it's the same thing with when people are giving you or judging you or whatever. You have that same choice. And the problem is we just never been told that. We were always taught that we have to react. And once you realize that you don't, you become like Neo in the Matrix, and it doesn't matter anymore. And I feel like this brings me back to the original what we were talking about. You're not attached to it, and you can let things go their own way. And the when you're not attached to the common good, the good becomes as common as grass. Same thing on the inside. When you're not worried about what you're going to do in your behavior, you just accept it. Do it till you're
Indeed.
done. Don't break any laws, though, guys. We're not saying to. We're not
Do
advocating.
as thou wilt, as long as you don't break any.
Yeah. Do what you got to do, but don't blame us. Is what we're saying.
Shall we do the Stan Rosenthal?
Yeah. Shall we? All right. Ooh, nice and short look at Stan. Oh, good. I almost hit stop share. Okay. The sage, therefore, does not contrive in order to bring about reform. Wonderful. But teaches the people peace of mind. And that's just exactly what I said. Peace of mind is realizing that you control your peace of mind. In order that they might enjoy their lives, having no desires, all he does is natural. Because when you're following your desires, you're not living the natural way. Your natural way is to just follow. So that's why sometimes you have inclinations to do things and you perceive them as evil. And if you try to stop yourself and you think it's evil, you're going to keep doing it. It's a cycle. But if you allow yourself to do it and you say, I'm okay with this, it's fine that I have to
do it till I'm done.
I was going to say something
vulgar.
Yeah, but it's fine that I got to choke myself to reach climax. It's okay. But if you don't hate yourself for doing it, then you'll stop doing it. It's so weird and it's hard, but
it's
So
paradoxical.
easy to do. Yeah, it's paradoxical, but it's same thing, and it doesn't affect you anymore, and you become like Neo in the Matrix. So that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, the show is the FBI show. It's a new show, so it's set in the 70s, but it's not really violent, but they do show some, so it's been putting things in my head. This with the woman where it walks in on her husband. It's pretty brutal. I mean, they don't show anything, but you infer what's going on. You're like, he's choking himself and he has like a doll mask on. It's pretty cool. Anyway.
Oh my God.
It's a good show though. It is. Since he teaches self-sufficiency, the people who follow him return to a good, uncomplicated life. Self-sufficiency is what we were talking about, like with the whole welfare thing.
Yes.
Right. And,
yeah.
Do I think welfare is great? No. But do I think we should spend trillions on bombs when we could feed people? It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But it's like having a child. If you spoil them and give them everything they want, they're gonna be useless. So there's a fine line, right? You just got to do your best in any situation. That's what I say. So if it works for you, fucking use it. Don't feel bad, That's what I say. I mean, I collected unemployment allegedly for like 2 years, and when Obama was president, go Obama. That's why I don't even hate Obama. I mean, I could hate him, but then I would just I'd be in cognitive dissonance. Okay. All right. I'm not
I like that part at the beginning. It says the sage therefore does not contrive in order to bring about reform, but teaches the people peace of mind. Because I just think of the people. Well, I think of things going on in the world right now, and something happening at the beginning of November. And all these things. There's just a lot of contriving always going on, and I don't think they're trying to bring about reform either. But maybe they're trying to bring about more control.
Yeah, reform, all right. They're trying to reform, all right. They want a revolution, all right. Yeah, it's it's a conduit for attention because I feel like right now are really magical times. Like I've experienced it. I feel like right now you manifest. I'm double fisting it, everybody. I feel like you manifest things right now a lot more readily. The veil has been lifted. Something's going on, right? So people's attention is really important right now. So they have these huge conduits, and they've known it's this, because of calendars. Certain people have probably known about this for a long time, or maybe this is just the way it works out. I mean, I'm fully on board with there is no Rothschild like people in the background. It's just the way this shit's working out, and Trump's just a madman in control because that's how God wants it. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. So
Could it be?
anyway,
Who knows? Well, we don't know.
yeah, we really don't know. So uh but anyway, that that whole, it's not like the election was planned last year. This election cycle was planned a long time ago. Could it be first, maybe right now they are special times. Look at 2020. Look at the attention that was grabbed in 2020. Everyone's attention was grabbed. So I would say keep your attention as your own. Be conscious of where you put it and create wonderful and beautiful things in your life. And you're going to create your own reality tunnel. And Sharon and I have no idea what the fuck is going on out there. And guess what? We don't care. We have a great life because of it. And it doesn't mean we don't help people around us. Sharon and I both help people all the time around us that need help, and take care of people and help people in our own lives in our own way. And in that way, we love ourselves and have self-love. And so that's just what I would say to people who are like, yeah, but you don't care what's going on out there, how you're heartless. It's like, no, I don't pity. I think pitying the people would be like condescending on a certain level, because this is their trial. So how would I be like, oh, you can't handle it? It's kind of like when you're like, oh, you can't joke about black people. It's like, well, you think they can't handle a joke,
Yeah.
or, or
You pity
Italian
them, you think
people.
they're less than?
Yeah, it's like, no, they want to be joked about. Everybody wants to be made fun of. It's fun. But anywho,
Shall we read the last one?
yeah, I dipped in too early. It's cool though. We're wrapping up the show. So I also, yeah, having no desires too. All he does is natural. So, oh, I talked about that, really the natural way. I think I got lost when I was on that point. So the point I wanted to make really about that is just when you're not following your desires, you're living according to the Tao, like, right, the natural way, and you have a lot less suffering because you're not worried about every decision that you make, and you're like not analyzing everything. And again, we're speaking to ourselves, everybody, because
Mm.
that's the thing. It's like the curse when you're intelligent. It's like you also are aware of how bad you're fucking up to.
Your own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But when you learn to love and love yourself how you are, it goes.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to take it personally,
yeah, well
even for
said.
yourself.
Well said.
Um, so Aleister Crowley's version of verse 57, the last bit says, a wise man has said this, I will refrain from doing, and the people will act rightly of their own accord. Why? Because the refrain from doing is the not doing, which is the Wu Wei, right? I will love silence, and the people will instinctively turn to perfection. I will take no measures, and the people will enjoy true wealth. I will restrain ambition, and the people will attain simplicity. It's funny how his and Dwight Goddard's is very similar. Again, they both wrote them within like a year of each other. So could it be they referenced each other somehow? But yeah, very similar to what we read in other versions.
And again, to apply this all to the lens of the inner self, it really is about just being easier on yourself. And this is something, one of the oversharing tenets, I think. Tenets. I still don't know how to say that word. It's cool. I forgot. I remembered, but then I forgot. So um and that's the thing, right? So I could get on here and I could say tenant wrong, and I could get mad at myself and be like, oh, what the fuck? Or I could just laugh about it because it's really pretty hilarious and it's kind of cute. It's like the way I say 100, it's like $100.
100.
Elizabeth loves it. So now I say it on purpose, so it's the same with anything that you do though, right? Because you see a lot of people beat themselves up constantly and have a lot of negative self-talk. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in our circles, fall into that stuff when they
Yeah.
awaken, because
It remind
you are.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say because you actually see, you're faced with the truth of how terrible your behavior is, that you perceive it anyway. But then once you start to see it as perfect, that goes away. There is another stage. But that's why I like to harp on it and hammer on it, because I feel like there's all this useless suffering going on. And I guess that's my way of saying the world's not perfect and I want to change it, but it's all perfect. Anyway,
Something you said reminded me of something I heard in this audiobook that I'm listening to. I've been listening for months, probably for a long time, but it's called Living the Law of One, and it's by Carla Ruckert, or I don't know how to pronounce her last name, something like that. She's the one who was the channel or the medium
oh, okay.
um for Raw. Um and she is talking about living the law of one, right? So she's talking about um your body as and all the chakras and everything and stuff like that, and how to like heal those things. And something she said in one of them, I can't remember which one, but she was saying, yeah, like if you have your husband or your wife or your partner or whatever, and there's something about them that like annoys the living crap out of you, like maybe they're chewing, the way they chew their food, or the way they say a certain word, like you said, or whatever, right? She's like, what if you turn that around and you start to think of it as something cute, as something uniquely them, like something cute, like you can totally turn that around. Like you don't have to have a perspective that it's annoying or bothersome or whatever. Like change it up. And it definitely is perspective. I've done that in my life before with things like changing my mind about um I don't know if I ever said this one, but ginger. Like with the first time I ever went to a sushi restaurant, um my friend was like, you need my college friend was like, you need to try this, whatever. And I was like, okay. And then he was like trying the ginger, and I tried the piece of ginger and I was like, I can't, this tastes like soap. I can't do it. Can't do it. And over time, people were like, oh, ginger's great. It's wonderful. It's this, that, and the other. And it's so healing and it provides XYZ and blah, blah, blah. And one day I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try this, and I'm just going to let it be. Like, I'm just going to let it taste how it's supposed to taste. And I'm not going to be like, oh, it's gross. It tastes like soap. And I just did it. And I love ginger now. I just like when I go to the sushi restaurant, I make sure I eat all my ginger, you know?
bring me more ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love my ginger too, but she's downstairs waiting for me. Yeah, that's what I do here, everybody. That's great though, because I did that with tomatoes when I was in the Marine Corps. When there was a couple weeks or whatever, we were doing like battle training, or maybe a week or something. We're in the field, so they would give us MREs for breakfast, or which is a meal ready to eat. You'd open it up, one for breakfast and lunch, and then for dinner they'd bring a hot meal out. I probably might have talked about this, but you get a tray and they just slop food on your plate, and they gave us like lettuce. One of the things was like lettuce, which is tomatoes. I don't know if it's supposed to be a topping or a salad. And I hated tomatoes. And I'm like, I was so hungry. And I'm like, I'm just gonna eat it. And I ate it. I'm like, this isn't that bad. And then from now on, now I eat tomatoes. It's like this, it's all mental, right?
It is all mental. It's
And
all in
the
your
other
mind.
and the other thing is, speaking of all in your mind, what I wanted to say is what you were talking about, reframing things, like with the ginger, or with somebody who says something in a funny way or has a habit, you just look at it as them being uniquely cute. Well, guess what? You can do that and turn it around and use it for yourself, everybody. If you have something that you do and it's annoying, you could say, hey, this is uniquely me, and you accept it and you love it, and
Yeah.
it might just go away or not bother you or
Yeah.
whatever.
Like when I used to work where I did, and I would like try to finish people's sentences and stuff. And people were like, gave me the nickname autocomplete. I was like, I laughed. At first I wanted to be like bothered by it, but I was like, dude, that's actually pretty funny.
They created a monster. You were
Yeah.
like, all right, I am autocomplete. Fuck you guys. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it now. Like, you like
But the
owned
funny
it.
part is like what you said happened, because over time I noticed it, and I I was more like listening. I like tried to be more listening than to like it helped me notice my thing. You know what I mean? Because I didn't take it personally. I was like, so it's not like I was like, oh, how dare you? I'm going to do it more. It actually made me notice it. And then I was like less likely to do it. I mean, I still do it, but sometimes, but I'm more likely to like notice, you know what I
But now
mean?
when you do it, it's hilarious.
Now when I do it, I notice and I think it's funny.
Yeah, but it's hilarious though when you did the whole thing with the attention span. That I was calling back to that. Now when you do it, it's hilarious. All right. Are we done with that?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah. All
we
right.
didn't
Let's
have
go
to
on to
explain
the chat.
everything because I think he was just restating some of the same stuff Dwight
As
Goddard
long as you
did.
get it. If listen, people, if you have questions, please comment below. Let us know. We'd love to talk about this stuff. So I mean, as you can see, we don't take things personally. Sharon was called autocorrect even before she was into self-healing. And she was like, you're right, I'm fucking autocorrect. And she just went with it. They were like, fuck.
Autocomplete. But yeah,
Autocomplete, yeah. Oh yeah,
same thing.
autocomplete.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
That'd be funny.
I corrected people too, so I could be autocorrect as well.
I just thought of a funny like a funny character, just like awkward auto complete or yeah, autocorrect, awkward autocorrect. Like when someone's talking and they're like, "Oh, yesterday I had to go wash my," and then you're like, "Penis," and they're like, "No, I was gonna say like portrait or whatever." You know what I mean? Like what? You know, you see the memes with all the autocorrects that are really funny, and people are like, "No, I didn't mean to say
Oh
dildo to my
my
mom or whatever."
gosh.
But you could be that as a character. Like when people are talking, you could just be like dildo. And like, no, I didn't mean dildo. Like what? I'm
Oh
like,
my
I'm just
gosh.
I'm just going off the Apple auto,
Autocomplete.
auto complete. No, I just I could pretend to be a robot who's like I've assimilated your culture and now I can autocomplete what you're gonna say. Like I'm not gonna
I'm the Siri autocomplete.
yeah, like data. What's going on in the
Data.
chat? I used to hate olives for years, MS says. Every time I saw them around, I would try one. It was years of nope, but now I freaking love olives. Me too. Same thing. I hate my dad would eat green olives, and I'm like, how dare you? And
I
you know what
love
got me on the
olives.
olives? Subway sandwiches because I get the black olives, and I'm like, these are good.
I used to like black olives too. I haven't had black olives in a while, but I love my favorite olives are Castelvetranos. Absolute favorite olive in the world.
Yummy. I like all the olives.
Hmm.
I don't like them
Speaking of
black
olives
olives
and
though. Them black olives, you know about them, but we can't talk about them on YouTube. We'll get taken down. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no black
green
olives.
olives, okay?
Shh. The olives with the big noses are the ones you gotta watch out. The nose shadows. Did you measure your nose shadow? All right, I'm delirious. I'm gonna
It
sneak to eat.
depends on the angle, you know?
Thank you guys. So yeah, the angle of the nun. I've had too many MREs. LOL, John. Yeah, you get it, John. MREs, but those things, and then you wouldn't see they're smart because they designed them so you would not have to poop. I'll just say it that way. So like
Oh, wow.
yeah, not it would like cheese, like if you get binded up, so then you could be in combat for a while. And then like I don't know.
Oh
Anyway,
my.
I mean it's good for 50 years, and maybe it just does it, and they didn't even mean to do it on purpose, and that's just a side effect. Ever try the ones stuffed with anchovies from España? No,
Oh,
I have not.
I don't think I have. But that sounds good too. I like it. I like anchovies. I
Yeah.
love Caesar salad.
I love
It's my
olives
favorite.
stuffed with the cheese. What is
Oh,
that?
yes, cheese stuffed olives. I've
The
seen those.
Italian, like the pecorino. No, it tastes like
Oh
pepperoni.
my gosh. John Chase.
Yeah, one why they only give you 3 sheets with them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they know what they're doing. We used to make great concoctions though, because they give you like a pouch for things. So we'd like take a pouch. It was like dehydrated peaches, and if you pour water into the pouch, it turned into peaches. It was so crazy. Uh,
Peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man in a
peaches,
factory downtown.
millions of peaches, peaches for free.
You know what I'm talking about? The song.
Yeah, yeah, millions of peaches, peaches for free or from me. I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember.
forgot how the song goes. That's the only part I remember. So, anyway, thanks everybody for being here and for staying this whole time.
You guys are the best. Have a
I
great
loved this.
weekend.
I loved these two verses. 56
Yes.
is my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, really that verse yeah, it's amazing. We said it all. Just go back and listen, everybody. We don't have to say anymore. We did it. It's done. This episode
We
is
did it.
done. We'll just say if you want any more, go to morelawsmoreproblems.com. Just like it said in the Dow,
That's
morelawsmoreproblems.com.
right.
And click on the oversharing tab for all your oversharing needs. The best way to support us is to hang out here on Thursdays in the chat or when we are live or premiere. And listen to us in audio form. You can get that on morelawsmoreproblems.com. The link is there in the oversharing tab as well through any of your podcast providers, and rate us there. Let us know what you think. Let the good people know how amazing we are. Or you could just say things like, you know what, you probably can't handle this podcast. You should leave. If anyone's gonna, yeah, leave comments like that. Be like, listen, this podcast is great, but it's not for everybody. So you probably, just
You
keep
probably
moving.
don't
But
want
it's
to listen to this one.
yeah, no, just like the people you could be like, oh, this is great, I love it. They'll be like, but it's probably not for you. Like whoever's reading this, you don't want to watch. It's like the underground. You're gonna get triggered and offended, but it's great though.
It's like when you
And
tell somebody this is no, this apple pie is just nah. Just
nah, you don't want any of this
you don't
dessert.
want it. I'll do you the favor. I'll finish it up and that way you don't have to taste it.
Like Tom Sawyer, I'll listen to you. I'm not gonna let you paint this fence. I'm having so much fun painting this fence, or Huck Finn or whoever. And then he tricked the kid into painting the fence. Yeah.
I forgot about that. I need to go read those old kids books again.
Yeah, yeah. Good
Keep
old Mark.
scrolling, says Mihal.
Yeah, keep scrolling. Good old Mark Twain.
Crispy and
Oh,
spicy,
what's up,
says
Blue?
Blue. Yeah.
Shout out to Blue,
We're
Tony, MS,
feeling
John
spicy.
Chase. Who else was in here?
Tony
Truthers.
Coriolis, Amberson,
Yep. Tony. Yep. Oh yeah, I said Tony for sure. We could say it
all
3
these
times.
peeps. There was a Truthers Hour of Comedy.
Oh, Cody was in here. What's up, Cody? Kathleen, of course, how could we forget? Hope you're enjoying the rest of the show. And I guess what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start oversharing,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's right.
That's exactly right. And remember, everybody, this is so important that we're not trying to tell you how to live.
No, we're simply just showing you ways of the world being perfect, shall we say?
From the spiritual viewpoint.
Perspective. Yes.
The perspective. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Peace out,
Ciao.
Cub Scout.